Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right, episode 54 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Ken from Rodtees in North Carolina. Let's go!
Hey there, beautiful.
Hello.
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 Hey.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey there, cutie pie.
Hey.
Hey. What's up?
Hey. Yeah, we're both a little bit early, aren't we?
Mm.
You ready for this? Check.
Mhm.
Check.
Mm.
You started kissing so much, my speakers, like, I think you blew them out.
Little kissies.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So much love.
Okay, so we got audio. That works. And I'm looking up there and it says it's recording.
All good.
Mm-hmm. How hot is it in New York? Is it hot as shit?
It was hot as fuck last week.
So wait a
like
second.
in the week, but this weekend it was cooler. It was like 70s this weekend.
Is hot as fuck hotter than hot as shit?
I think so.
Yeah, like
There's like hot as shit, hot as fuck, and then hot as balls.
okay. That is the scale. That's right.
Right. That's the scale.
And then hot as balls, there's nothing after that.
No, there's just there's nothing hotter than sweaty balls.
Right. So yeah, it's hot as fuck then here, I would say.
Right now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's 90 something.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Yeah. Have I told you about our bird sanctuary we have here?
No.
Yeah. I hate them. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
They are invasive.
Mm-hmm.
They're mean. They're relentless. They shit nonstop. Like
Everywhere.
I've never seen. Yeah, they bomb every car out there and the windows. All those insured windows bombed,
Shit on.
destroyed. I think that they're mocking me. Honestly, like I
Like
went
with
out
one
there-
of their claws as they fly by your window, they're like this.
They do that,
Uh-huh.
and then they perch up. Like they're not scared anymore. You know,
Right.
they used to get scared, but now they're just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give a shit, and so they sit up there sometimes and stare at me as I'm walking in, and then just shit. It just like drops.
They save it until you pull it.
Right. And then they stare at me after they shit and they just look at me. The other day I was coming in and there was one, it was dead, just like right there.
And you were like, victory.
Yeah, I was like, I felt zero sorrow. Like I didn't care. I was like, oh, poor thing, died.
Give it mouth to mouth.
Nope.
Do they have a nest out front?
A nest.
Many nests?
There's like, 100 nests. It's bad. I'll send you, I took a video that I texted my landlord of shit covered handles to the door. And
Like your actual door coming in is covered in shit?
all right, here, I'm texting you this right now.
Okay.
I got to see your reaction. Tell me when you get it. And blow it up like full phone size. Don't just watch it small.
I can't watch it small and I can't see anything when you send me those videos.
Oh, right. I know. You got to zoom in. You can hear them in the background, those motherfuckers.
I'm playing it. Yeah, you can. Oh, dude. You weren't kidding. That's fucked. Dude, it's not like, I was thinking it was like out where your cars are. This is just like your front door.
No, I wasn't being a bitch. I'm serious. Like there is shit everywhere.
It's so bad.
So bad.
That's like pressure washer shit. My problems are nowhere near as big as that. I kind of had like a weird, fun thing happen on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So this comedian, Annie Lederman, hit me up. She called me at like 9 p.m. and she's like, hey, I have a weird request. I was like, okay. She's like, I'm going to be on Joe Rogan on Monday and I kind of want to have a design on a shirt made. Is that something you can take care of? I was like, hell yeah, that sounds super fun. So she sends me this sketch that I guess like went viral on like Reddit for a while. It was like her looking in a mirror and then in the mirror, the reflection was Danny DeVito. And the sketch was really cool. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But I was looking at it on my phone and I was like, well, email me the sketch and I'll take care of it in the morning. So she emailed me the sketch, and the sketch was pretty rough. And I just like mocked it up on a white tee because it was kind of like what you would do real quick. And it kind of looked lame. So I had one of our artists like redraw it, pretty much the same thing, but like cleaned it up, made it look cooler. And then I sent her that version, and she was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool, like in color." I'm like, "Okay, like this is gonna get like I'm cool with that
For one,
like,
right?
For one tee, and I don't have DTG, so I can't just like make whatever." So I ended up coloring it. I did it like full on, like what I would want it to be, like no reservations, no like whatever, and it ended up being like a 7 color. So I did all the artwork, 7 color, all within 24 hours, printed them. Me and Brian stayed late on Friday, printed them, overnighted them. They got to her, thankfully, in Boston yesterday on Saturday, and she's going to wear it on Rogan on Monday.
Wow. 7 color. How many?
1 shirt.
And
I printed 4 just in case, but I honestly didn't even care. Like I haven't sent her a bill or anything.
Color. Was she already a customer?
Kind of, yeah. We were like in the works of setting up a store, but this was kind of like a, hey, nice to meet you. Hey, actually, I have this thing. Can you help me out with?
Right.
So, but yeah,
I've been in that spot before, you know, where you're kind of talking to a potential customer, and then they need something, right? Something comes up.
Right.
Oh, can you
Like
help me
right
with
then.
this? And it's a type of thing where you're not going to make any money on, but you do it hoping that.
I just was in it for the story, honestly. Like I thought the design was super rad, and I thought the story of just like rushing something, getting it there just in time, and then it's going to be on, you know, someone like Joe Rogan that, you know, I like listening to anyway. So I thought that it would be kind of cool to do. So to me, it was just more for the story of like making it happen. But no, it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun.
That's rad. Yeah. I would do the same thing. Anybody that was going to be on Joe Rogan and they were going to wear it on Joe Rogan.
Well, that was the thing too, is I kind of hinted at her. I was like, hey, you know, if you want to like mention where you got it from, like, and you know, she was like, oh yeah. And it was funny today, like when I sent her that tee, I also sent her like an Upstate tee and an Upstate crop hoodie, because she said she loves crops and she crops everything. I saw today that like she posted on Instagram that she was like in like on a plane headed to see Joe, and she had our Upstate cropped hoodie on.
No way.
So I was like, that's pretty sweet.
That's cool. Well, do you want to talk about our sponsors?
We can.
Yeah.
If you're done talking about our weeks and our experiences.
Well, I mean, if you need to talk to somebody, Dylan, you know, we haven't talked.
Well, you're
since
the only vent that I have. Okay.
Okay. Well,
You're the
let it
only
out.
person I
man.
could talk to.
Let it out. Tell me what's going on. Like, there's something going on. I can tell. Because you didn't want to go to the sponsors. You were like, really?
Well, we got like 20 minutes still.
Okay. Okay. Are you okay? Is everything
I am.
okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need me to come up there?
I need help.
Yeah. I'm here for you. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Easy Way. Easy Way's line of eco-friendly chemicals will get the job done faster, more efficiently, and will cost you a fraction of the cost per
Screen.
Good. All right. Good job.
Thanks.
Easy Way.
It's the easiest way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the hardest. It's not the hardest.
It's not the hardest. It's the easiest.
That's right.
All right. You ready? Swinging it in. I don't see your finger. Okay. It's beautiful.
Okay. GSF.
Okay. So I was on the phone talking to you at work with Chad about something, and then Chad chimes in the background because he's the one that checks the Instagram. And somebody made like, because he couldn't remember graphicscreenfashion.com. So he went and bought the domain, like, what is it? 5 F's then Frank. So it's frank.com, and then had it routed to GSF. So if you want to go to graphicscreenfashion.com, you can just do Frank with 5 F's.com, and it goes to his website. So it was funny. We screenshotted it and sent it to Frank, and Frank called me immediately, and he's like, what the hell is this? And I was like, dude, it's awesome. I was like, somebody made the domain for you. He's like, so wait, and then he tried it and it worked, and he was like so stoked that somebody made that. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, do I call them? Do I buy it from them?
Yeah, I talked to him because I got jealous that you had talked to him. And so we talked, and he said that then he got like, at first he was like, oh, that's so cool. Like that somebody did that. And then he was like, oh shit, do I buy that from him or what? Right. You know? And so then you could tell he got a little nervous. He was like, oh, what do I do? That's right.
At JYogi3 made it.
There you go.
Thanks, dude, for making that for real, though. It's super cool of you to do that. And Frank was pumped.
Frank was pumped. Still is.
Yeah.
Then also Disney screen printing.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one too.
You see that meme where it says, got a call from a digitizer yesterday. So I used a trick from you guys and told them that my mom does all my digitizing. And they said, oh, okay. And then hung up on him.
Just keep doing that. If you get contacted by a digitizer, just say that, sorry, my mom does my digitizing.
That's right. But back to GSF, that stands for Graphic Screen Fashion. Fashion.com. And do yourself a favor, order yourself some Franks and never look back.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Monarch.
Our buddies at Monarch. I think, in my opinion, the only thing that I really need to say with Monarch is just like the quality and the opacity of their inks. Like, it's a no-brainer for me. Like, we do a lot of like bright, opaque, like bright colors, all this other stuff, and going from just like a all-around mixing system with the Wolflex one we had to the Monarch one was night and day with like, you know, a good opacity of the first time around. No like doubling things or anything like that. It's just a great ink in my opinion, and I really like using it. At
that one shop, sent us the story when he went to pick up some inks or some supplies at his normal supplier, and he turns and he's like, bam. And then there's a whole stocked shelf of Monarch inks.
Right.
And he's like, hey, like, I want some of that. And they're like, how do you know about it? Not a lot of people know about it. And he went on to tell about, like, well, you know,
his buddies.
Yeah. And
we're your buddies.
He bought some. He was like, they're like, what color do you want? He's like, I don't know. Even I think he got like
red
or something.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, everyone we've seen get it likes it. So it's great stuff.
It is great stuff. So ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch.
Mm-hmm. I got my results from my sleep study.
Okay, yeah.
They told me that I choke 40 times a minute. Like I wake up 40 times a minute.
Choke?
Yeah, like I stop breathing.
40?
40 out of 60 seconds.
That seems like a high number, right?
That's what they told me.
What's normal? What are they looking for?
They said I had severe sleep apnea. Like, no question, you need the machine.
Well, it's a good thing you went to that study. It's a good thing they're getting you some equipment, and right? Is that what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because that sounds dangerous. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Okay, you ready?
Bone ready, motherfucker. What's happening, man?
Not much. Typical Sunday, just hanging out at the shop for a little bit, trying to get a little things done.
Yeah. I feel like everybody's in that mode where they're just trying to putz around the shop on Sunday before they get destroyed on Monday.
Yeah, it's like the Heinz 57 day, catch-up day. There's your bad dad joke out of the way.
I love it. If you could just keep doing those the entire time, I would appreciate it.
All right, let me see if I can find a snare drum here. We can get some rim shots going.
Love it.
Yeah.
So where are you right now? Are you in your office?
Actually in the showroom. Office is a disaster, and the lighting's not real good in there. So a little bit better out here.
Mm-hmm. What all do you have in the showroom there? It looks like you got a little bit of everything. You got koozies and
Of course,
hats.
just tons of T-shirts on the wall. You can't see the other side of the shop. We tried to make it we started out to make it like an art gallery, like a big Andy Warhol thing in his studio where he was screen printing with his apprentices, and a picture of Belushi wearing his famous college shirt from Animal House, and some old lady with a pissed off look on her face that says "Death to hipsters," and we got a big. I don't know if you can see it up there or not. I got Ferris Bueller up there
Nice.
at the top. So people, it's funny how many people come in. Oh, can I buy that? I'm like, well, we don't have the rights to sell that, but we have the rights to make it and hang it up in our shop. So we got a lot of stuff like that, and a picture of Tesla doing some crazy stuff back in the day. Where he's sitting there scribbling his notepad and lightning bolts are all around him. We kind of wanted to make it fun, but then it started getting taken over by the sales reps bringing in samples and this and that. Now we have a ton of racks and scary mannequins in here, and it's almost too crowded. I need to kind of thin out the herd a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like there's a good amount of stuff there.
Yeah, that's just the stuff we can put in the shelves behind us here. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here, but it's kind of a cool vibe. When people come in, our old shop, the showroom was really small and you couldn't come near to showing everything we do, so it's worked out better here. The showroom's about 850 square feet, so we can get a fair amount of stuff out there.
Yeah, it's a big showroom.
Yeah, it's bigger than what we need.
You get a lot of people, like a lot of traffic in your showroom.
Not as much as we thought when we moved here, because we're on a frontage road right off of Interstate 77 here in Charlotte. But then again, we've only been in this location a couple of years, and then of course COVID hit, and everybody was kind of shut down. But it's weird, like in the last 2 months, it's like almost every day. My wife is at the counter all day; she's the counter person. And she's been up here constantly. And even today, I was here earlier doing some stuff, and some ladies yanking on the door, clink, 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 clink. I'm like, oh man, I really, I wasn't really in the mood for doing that because I was sweaty. I was doing stuff in the back, but
right.
It's really picked up, and it's a good thing. It's nice to have walk-ins, but she's got the patience to do it. I really don't. People come in and. It's the old, my daughter or son's an artist, and then you start going down that journey, and, they know we do DTG here too. So it's the one shirt thing, which is cool. We do tons of it online. That's what the main reason we got into that. But, they can take up a lot of counter time. So if I'm here first thing in the morning and I unlock the door, I find myself getting inundated with that. But that being said, you never know where that's going to lead. Is it going to lead to a big order, which, quite often it has, I remember in San Diego, which is where we're from originally, our old shop was about 75 feet from an In-N-Out burger. So people just kind of drift in while they're waiting for their food and stuff. And, one of the biggest orders we ever got just came, strolling in from, and that was because we had the retail storefront as opposed to being hidden away like we used to be. And it's really ever since then, we've always had, somewhat of a storefront.
So you like it and you welcome it then?
Yeah, we like it. We welcome it. I'd rather my wife or Beth or, one of the others do it, just
anyone but you, really.
But yeah, I'm good with certain people. It's like if I'm in my wheelhouse, like our retail business is called Your Logo Wear, but our online presence is Rodtees. And that's my wheelhouse, dealing with all the car guys and the car shows and, that kind of artwork and the custom culture stuff, the tattoo guys, the motorcycle guys. Kim and Beth and everybody, they're really good at dealing with the soccer leagues and the schools and all that kind of stuff, because she's more into, because those are the people that want to see every possible item that's in the Alpha Broder catalog or the Sandmar catalog. They stand there, they thumb through every page, and I start having an outer body experience and float around the room, look down at myself and say, how do you get out of this?
Right.
We stopped doing that. So they ask us still, how many catalogs do you want? We're saying 0 now because just like you said, it's so problematic. And so I think what we've moved to is even reducing down how many shirts we have in our showroom. Joanne has pulled so much stuff out of there. Now it's basically just our top sellers. I mean, if somebody comes in and they want to see a sample of something weird, well, we have it probably here in the back somewhere and we'll go grab it. But as far as if you walk in and it's basically just basic tee, or we have a couple upgraded options, and so for that reason, because it's just most people end up using those shirts anyway, and they ask for advice about stuff and fit and all that kind of thing. And so we found it better anyway to just, limit the choices and get to the order quicker.
Yeah, that's so smart.
I think it's the same. It's the same with us too. Like over the years, I would say maybe like the first 5 years or whatever, we were kind of like offering people anything and everything. We were like, oh, we'll just go. Like I would always tell people, I'm like, just go to Broder or Bodick and Rhodes at the time or whatever it was. And I was just like, just pick out what you want. Give me the item numbers. And then we'll just like do it for you. But yeah, same with Andy. Like we pretty much dwindled it down to like, oh, you want a hoodie? Well, you're going to use like, we're going to try to sell you like independent, because we know that's our favorite. That's what we want to print on. And if somebody comes in, they're just like, I want a t-shirt, I automatically quote them on like a Bella 3001 CBC. Mm-hmm. Like that's my first shirt. And if they're like, well, I actually like a heavier weight or I like this, then that's when I'll branch off to be like, all right, well, here's some other options. I'm just trying to steer people to like, this is what I know prints really good. This is what I know like feels really good. And a lot of people say these are like our favorite items. So I'm just trying to cut out all the bullshit instead of being like, oh, here's the price on a Gildan 5000. Where do you want to go from here? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I know that they would probably like that price point, but they're not going to actually like those shirts.
Yeah, that's the same way we are with the screen printing and the DTG. It's pretty easy. We have those wheelhouse items we know are going to print well, feel good, be a good value, going to last, going to be good quality control. Where we get into the hassle, for me at least, is the embroidery. Because there's a million different hats. There's a million different, and of course, everybody likes Richardson. Richardson's the hot brand right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say
on
that.
The hats. But as far as, polos for, Charlotte, there's a lot of banks and there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies here, and they have a particular item they want, or they want to match a particular style. And Kim's really good at sourcing that for them and getting them exactly what they want. Whereas I'm not, I'm not really good at that. And I don't handle any of the embroidery. She does all that stuff, and her and Beth.
So can you explain a little bit? You said your online presence is Rodtees, but your storefront is called something else? It's
called Your Logo Wear. Because Rodtees is kind of it's a real niche related name. Actually, we have a bunch of little different niche names for different, wheelhouses we kind of go into. I keep using the word wheelhouse. I don't know. Maybe it's because we just did a job for Wheelhouse Media. It's on my brain. They got a car show. Of those. They got a car show coming up.
What was like? There was Rodtees, and then there was T-Dog.
T-Dog. That's a thing we're starting because hot rods are great, and I'm a car guy. I love cars, but not everybody has a cool car because it's the old. It's like a line from an old REO Speedwagon concert where they say the best way to speak to somebody is in their own language, unless they're talking to you with a guitar. So. When you're in these niches, you find that, it's have you ever seen the movie Used Cars?
I don't.
It was Kurt Russell. Oh, you got to see it. Anybody that's in sales or ever dealt with the public has to see it. Kurt Russell plays this car salesman. And I used to own a video store, so there's always going to be movie references. But, Rodtees is by far and away our biggest part of our business and our online business. But like the T-Dog thing is, we kind of figured out that, a lot of people love dogs. And with DTG, it's so easy to create a template where people send in a picture and they get, Fluffy on a t-shirt or, Duke on a t-shirt, and they're stoked about it. But then we thought, well, fetch a good deal from T-Dog, blah, blah, blah. So we're slowly building that. It's really not even launched yet. I don't even have the website up. But, we have on Facebook. Facebook's a real good thing for us. Not Instagram, we haven't really quite cracked that code yet. As far as getting business from it, we get a ton of business from Facebook, and I have all these different gearhead related pages, like there's Rodtees, which is the main one. There's gearhead tees and customs classics and cruisers and motorcycle brand, Iron Cult and Gasoline Soul. And there's like 20 more. So we're constantly uploading content. And then I mix in, hey, here's a cool t-shirt we're offering, or here's a cool t-shirt one of our artist friends is offering.
Right.
So that's worked out really good for us. And it's something just kind of accidental. I had no idea it was going to happen, but like Rodtees for some reason has really taken off. We had like a period about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and you can look, every day starts a new 28-day or is the end of a 28-day period, on Facebook. And we had one period we had over 8 million views, which
I saw your post on that. Well, what did that end up being for?
It was just, a plethora of things, another bad dad joke. A guy stands up at a funeral and says, "I'd like to say a word." And she goes, the wife says, "Okay." He goes, "Plethora." She goes, "Oh, wow, that means a lot." But anyway, it's pretty bad. I don't hear the drum. No. Anyway, what were we just talking about? I just lost my...
Just the 8 million views.
Oh, the 8 million views. Yeah. It was just because I post like just a lot of different things, but I had this one post was just a picture of a pistol grip shifter from a Dodge Challenger and just said, "Hey, what car did you learn to drive a stick in?" That thing is, I've posted on Gearhead Tees and on Rodtees, and combined it's had over 4 million views between those two pages. And I mean, tons of comments, like over 20,000 comments. And, and then you follow that up. I wait until it's kind of saturated a little bit. And I go in there and I edit the thing and say, "By the way, hit us up at rodtees.com if you need any t-shirts, because if you do that beforehand, it doesn't get fed as much, if you have a link
right, it's
in
there, an ad.
Yeah, it's an ad. And that's been the disappointing thing. Early on, you could post stuff and they went out to everybody, and we were kind of late in the game getting in on that. I've only been on social media for about 8 or 9 years actively. And we had a couple good years where it was really, everything was being seen by everybody, especially if you're putting up like an individual t-shirt for sale, with just a little slogan on it or something like that, instead of making, $4 a shirt, you can make $16 a shirt. So that's always cool when you can get the retail end of it. But now not so much. Now it just leads to custom work for car clubs and events and whatnot, car shows. We don't do a whole lot of things for the actual shows themselves, unless it's like a smaller show, because, we don't want to do the great big NASCAR looking designs, where there's 50 colors, it's a process job. There's tons of proofing. We're kind of get them in, get them out, get them done, do them good, So that's kind of where the Rodtees niche is and why we have the two different things. But the soccer mom sees the name Rodtees and it doesn't mean anything to them, and Your Logo Wear has always been our retail name here. In California, our company was called Marketing Works, but we sold that prior to relocating here to the East Coast.
Yeah, I did. It was quite a few years ago now. I did Mark Goudre's Catalyst program. And that was one of the things like he talked about was just like kind of like that email marketing and niche marketing thing where he was saying basically exactly what you're doing is he would be like, okay, if you can think of a good niche to get into, maybe think of a catchy website name for that. So if you were doing Rodtees, you would be like, all right, I'm into hot rod stuff. So Rodtees.com. And then all it had to be was a landing page. Right. It was like a landing page with some info, like to get people to go there. And it was like a funnel to get them to buy shirts and then ultimately go to like your main, business or whatever. But it was just like, you could think of like 1,000 websites, like for different, like you're running one and one for roller derby or whatever you wanted to do. Just make them all and then make them landing pages like that are dedicated to that thing and have info on that product. And then it ultimately goes back to your main site. So, I mean, it makes total sense. It's just.
Yeah, and it works too, because like what we found with like the hot rod niche, for instance, or any car niche, if somebody has a classic car, they're one of two things. They inherited it from their grandma and they're learning how to work on it. But the vast majority are people with a little extra disposable income. And that means that they're a decision maker at their business, or perhaps they work for a big business, but they've got some disposable income and they're set in their ways. So what's cool? Yeah, I might do some shirts for Rodtees, and the guy will call me up. Hey, Ken, man, those shirts turned out really good, but hey, my wife's got a little boutique business she's doing, or my wife's in charge of this, or I'm in charge of a fun run. So it does lead. It kind of spokes out to other orders, which has been cool. Whereas the Your Logo Wear thing, it's pretty much a typical situation as a screen printing shop would have. That the customer walks in or you reach out to the customer. And I mean, honestly, I don't know about you guys. I mean, it's been a while since I've really reached out to customers. I used to do the thing every morning. I'm going to send 5 emails out to 5 new people and every craft brewer and this and this and that. And I kind of just got out of the habit because there's work to be done, and I feel like the storefront should help cover itself.
I would like to go back, I guess, because it seems like you got a lot of stuff going on. Like, can you tell us like how you got started? Well, you said you owned a movie rental place, so I kind of want to hear that story too.
This will be a long story, so I'm glad I got a glass of wine.
Yeah,
well,
go to it.
When I first moved out from Indiana to California, I was working I was working for my stepdad in construction, and that got shut down. We were working in Death Valley. It got too hot. So I needed a job. I just want to keep money. I didn't want to get into what little savings I had. And I was working at a 7-Eleven part-time and cleaning swimming pools. Well, that's where I met my girlfriend, future wife. And
cleaning swimming pools?
No, that's 7-Eleven.
Oh,
she came in for a Slurpee.
I was hoping that you were the pool boy and she was inside.
I can get to that later because the video store, a lot of those pool boy related movies. But anyway, no. So we started going out and everything, and I was working at 7-Eleven now. Cleaning pools. I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I was spending every dime I had on her. And it was right when video stores were first starting. So we started. I said, we should start a video store. Well, I had a lot of pots to piss in, but we should start a video store. And she's like, yeah, we should. So I went to the little video store where we were going. It was one of the first ones in San Diego, and started talking to the guy. And he was more than happy to tell me within about 40 minutes, I knew everything you needed to know. What distributors, what this, what that, blah, blah, how it worked, what the profit margins were. And so, I went to my grandparents and I said, hey, would you co-sign on a loan for me? And they go, how much? I go, well, how much would you be willing to? They go, $5,000. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know how we're going to start a video store with $5,000. But then Kim went to her brother, Mike, and he loaned her $5,000. And then Mike said, I want to be a silent partner. I'll put in $5,000. So we start this video store somehow at $15,000. And we were right down by Qualcomm Stadium, which used to be Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, where the Padres and Chargers play. Well, that place was surrounded by condos. So it literally took off right away. So within a few months, it was like, wow, this is going to be solvent. This is going to be good. I was able to retire from 7-Eleven and work the video store all the time. But these guys opened up a place next door to us. And it's about a year down the road called Team Spirit. And they needed a sales rep. Well, I knew a lot of people from the video store, and I knew a lot of people. A really good guy, Ivan Stewart, famous off-road racing guy, is really super dude. And he hooked me up with Toyota Motorsports. And I walked up to him and said, hey, I can get you the Toyota Motorsports account. So I started selling for them. And the guy in the back imported patches and pins in the back of Team Spirit. Well, we wound up getting this huge account from Toyota Motorsports. But everybody that I contacted, because that was back in the old days of cold calling, way before email, I was sent out postcards, question, do you buy hats, shirts, Chloe's Nay pins, whatever. If yes, call Ken Brock at this company.
That's a pretty awesome postcard, though. Like, it sends me do you buy this stuff? If so, call this person. And
what was great, I can literally say I ran that for about 3 years. When I started my own company, Marketing Works, I kept that because it was my idea. I laid it out.
Yeah.
I actually had postmen calling me. Oh, hey, yeah, my son's, he's got a traveling soccer team, blah, blah, blah. So it was a really effective thing. And I often think, we should do it again. But people kept asking for screen printing. And the guy I was working for, Rich, wasn't doing screen printing. Like I said, video store was doing good. I mean, pretty much Friday and Saturday nights, Kim and I would work at the video store, but the rest of the time we had coverage. And a good friend of mine moved out from Indiana. We bought some screen printing equipment. Well, actually, I should back up. Before that, this is how old I am. 1987, America won the America's Cup. And the guy, Dennis Conner, was from San Diego. They're having a big parade. And my old boss at the 7-Eleven called me up and said, hey, Ken, he goes, if you're a creative guy, we should come up with a T-shirt for this thing. Well, we didn't screen print. But and this is what ultimately kind of led us doing it. I did this little 2-color design, hand-drawn artwork, cut in ruby lith, all the old school stuff. A stat camera, take it to this screen printer. Well, I went to a bunch of screen printers and said, hey, can we do these shirts? Well, how many do you need? Well, Howard said, I'll buy 2,000 shirts. So we ordered 2,000 shirts because there was going to be a big parade in San Diego. And Howard said, hey, we'll split it 3 ways, once it's all paid off. So we went down there to the Port District where they're having this parade. And we were selling shirts. We couldn't sell them fast enough. We kept bringing duffel bags. We were selling for $15. Bang, 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 bang. And we were almost sold out. I think we had like 250 shirts left. I mean, it was hectic. We had like Howard's 10-year-old son selling shirts. His kids walking around with a huge wad of cash, and we're just spread out. And we don't have cell phones back then. They still had the big bricks back then. And my friend Nick walks up and goes, "Hey, man, the cops just wrote me a ticket." And I'm like, "For what?" He goes, "Well, you got to have a resale license." And I walk over thinking I'm all badass and say, "Hey, I've got a resale ticket, a resale number. I own a video store in San Diego. This is the Port District. We're our own little country." And I'm like, "Oh, shit. We have like 200 shirts left. That's all profit." And the guy looks at me, and I look at his shoulder. I say, "Hey, I just did those patches for you guys." "Oh, really?" And he starts looking at me. We start talking. He tears up the ticket and orders more patches. So we get back to the video store. We've got like 225 shirts left. And my friend Nick, who had a beard like yours, sits there and he goes, "I'll be right back." And he ran over 7-Eleven and bought a 19-cent razor, shaved off his beard, and he went down and sold the rest of them. So that day, we made, a ton of money. I mean, each of us walked away with like $8,500. That was kind of the wheels to getting the whole thing going. So at that point we said, okay, screen printing is a good thing. And you couldn't get anybody to do stuff, the way we wanted to and fast. Cause I just immediately started getting good customers, big customers, all customers are good customers, but just lucking into some really good stuff, And so I said, we just got to buy our own screen printing equipment. And so he and I were partners for a short time, and that didn't work out. I put up all the money. He was doing all the printing. I was doing all the marketing. And he just kept wanting more and more of it. And to where it didn't make sense for me to take the financial risk on some of these orders. And, we parted ways, and he said, "You'll never screen print." And I started screen printing like a week later, bought some new equipment, started in the garage. And like a week after we did that, my niece said, "I'll sell for you." And so she immediately had her sights on big stuff. And she goes into this pretty well-known dirt bike brand in San Diego. And they immediately said, "Oh yeah, we'll try you out." We were really unhappy. Timing is everything. Really unhappy with our screen printer. I had like 10 screens at the time, some crappy little Raynor, really bad exposure unit. And they go, "Well, we need to see samples first." And so it was like 7 designs. Everything was like a 3/5. I literally for 2 days printed, reclaimed, printed, reclaimed, printed, reclaimed.
Because you only had those 10 screens?
Yeah, and because nobody was stocking anything in San Diego, and I just really had to get these done. I mean, I think I slept like 6 hours out of like 72 getting these done. I mean, I can remember being outside of my house, pouring down rain, reclaiming screens outside of one of the bedrooms. My brother-in-law was staying with us. He was back from Saudi Arabia where he taught English, and he couldn't get any sleep because I'm out there blasting out screens. But wanted to get in the job. The guy goes, "Hey, I'd really like to come see your facility." Oh, facility, it's a 3-car garage.
That's the worst.
Oh, man. And I don't know how, but for like 6 months, I was able to keep putting them off. "Oh, yeah, the dog's got a vet appointment. Oh, my father's coming in from out. Can we do it next week?" And then by then, we were doing so much business with them. And then we got Science Diet, which is a dog food company, got their account. So we were able to get a storefront and a shop. Actually, it was the shop first. And then
you were like, "All right, come on out."
Yeah, come on over. Well, actually, that guy wound up getting fired. By then, I had this great relationship with all the artists there, and some of whom I still work with today. And, they just funneled everything to us for about 10 or 11 years until they eventually started sourcing. They had a new buyer come in, and they started sourcing stuff overseas. But, yeah, they were great for a while. But they forced me to do really good work right off the bat, And I learned a lot.
I have a question back to what you said earlier. You said all customers are good customers. It made me think for a minute. And
you had the PETA tax.
The what?
The PETA tax. There's FICA, there's PETA. PETA is pain in the ass. You just add a little bit. No, we don't do that hardly ever this week. No, right, exactly. No, I mean, I don't mean to dispel the small orders, because really, for us in the last like 4 to 5 years, that it's been less big orders because of the way Rodtees works, and more, mid-size orders, 100 to 400 type stuff. Because we deal with people that are going to the shows, like all the vendors that set up at these shows, because some people want to buy the show shirt. Like when you go to a concert, they want to buy that shirt. But other people are familiar with a brand they've seen online or in a magazine, or maybe one of their, they watch an overhaul or one of these shows and see one of the guys wearing a shirt and they want those shirts. So we deal with a lot of the vendors that buy booth space at these shows. And that's kind of, it's nice because they're quick. They're typically, 1 to 3 color stuff. So you can make it look really good. Because, we print 90% of what we print on in the Rodtees side of our business is black shirts. That's pretty much it. Maybe sports gray, and every now and then some guy will panic and say, man, it's 100 degrees. Can we get some white shirts for the car show this weekend? But for the most part, it's black shirts.
All right. So back to the story. You finally got out of the 2-car garage and you got your first shop. What happens then?
Well, then, then we started doing that. We were doing a lot of stuff for this dirt bike company and reaching out to customers. And a friend of mine worked for Colgate Palmolive, which actually owned Science Diet. It was a Hill Science Diet company. And I approached him and said, man, we should do some kind of thing. Well, I should back up. At the time, we still owned the video store. And back then, wholesale cost of movies was like $55.
Yeah.
It was VHS tapes. And, but if you bought a certain amount, you got co-op money for advertising, where you could place a little ad in the local penny saver, or the Reader, or your local newspaper, whatever. But you could use those funds as however you wanted. So we would get these ad slicks, and I would contact the video stores around us and say, listen, instead of taking out an ad, why don't you do a thing? Everybody that buys a copy of Top Gun gets a T-shirt we'll do your name drop on the front with your store's name, and on the back we'll print the ad slick from Top Gun, or whatever the movie was of the week that was that time, Terminator or Alien or whatever, And so we were doing a lot of that. So I already had to kind of in, because back then they had this thing called the VSDA, which is the Video Software Dealers Association. Because when that industry started, nobody really knew what it was going to be. We didn't know, are we in the movie business? Are we going to rub shoulders with celebrities or whatever? But we'd have these monthly meetings we'd go to, and it was really cool because they'd screen new movies. They'd give away a bunch of stuff. You'd learn about what movies are going to be released when and where. And every now and then they have like somebody come sit with you. Like, I remember one night we had dinner with James Doohan from, it was in all the Star Trek movies, played Scotty. He was a really cool dude, man. He was really genuine and neat. But while there, we could hobnob with these people and say, hey, here's what we're doing, because you'd share secrets. And the secret I'd share is, hey, I'll print your shirts for you and make money, and you will too. And, they were supposed to give the shirts away. I would guess that some of them probably sold the shirts, or if you bought a copy of the movie, they'd give you a free T-shirt. So that, that kind of wagon wheeled. And then my friend worked for this dog food company. I'd met him at the video store, and he was actually a good little artist. And he's, I like doing artwork. And then I found out he worked for the dog food company. I said, well, let's come up with something of the same way that we're doing for these video stores. Put the Science Diet logo on the left chest, and we'll put their name on the back. And, that worked out really good because he got a lot of co-op money that he could go to these people with. And they were tired of just placing the same old ad all the time, come buy 50 pounds of dog food for this much. They wanted people to come in who actually were excited to get something. And then shortly thereafter that, we bought a vinyl cutter, a little Roland 20-inch vinyl cutter, and slow as hell. But I said, well, let's do a thing where we do store hours. We'll put the Science Diet logo here, and they'll put the store hours there, and then put their logo. So everybody coming in there was seeing Science Diet instead of IAMS or whoever the other company was. So that became really good. And then those individual stores would contact us and say, hey, we want to get shirts with our real logo and get our, our logo big on the back and on the front. So it was just a lot of that kind of stuff. And then when people found out we were doing this dirt bike company, for example, that kind of lended, it is, you guys do with lots of big companies, that lends validity to what you do. Oh, right. I do this person's stuff. Or in our case now, if you work with this artist, oh, well, if you can do his art, you'll do our art. And, people, they want to go somewhere that their friends have already tried it out. Nobody likes to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, it gives you like street cred. And it was before Google reviews and things like that, and so
before the internet.
It was before the internet. And so It sounds like coming up or starting out anyway. I mean, do you have a marketing background? Because it seems like you put together all of these different plans. It wasn't just, hey, I own Rodtees, or I don't know, it wasn't called
want
that
some
back
T-shirts.
Yeah, it was more like you put together packages. You would have a connection. You would reach out to that company and say, I have an idea, and here's my strategy, and let's try it. And you would execute it, and it worked. And so every time, it seems like that's how you grew anyway.
Yeah. I think people, people have an idea, and I think they want to know, is it a good idea? And if it is a good idea, can you supplement the idea? I think I've always been kind of a creative person and, kind of quick-witted. I was the kid that I was top of my class, but yet I was always making jokes under my breath to make my buddies laugh and get in trouble, that kind of thing. And so I think there was just some creativity that came with that. The only real marketing background I had is just funny is when I was in high school, I worked at a car wash in Indiana. And it was a pretty big chain of car washes, but I really understood what they were selling. And these car washes back in the old days, back when they actually washed your car inside and out, I was really good. I was always like the top salesman because I could tell people, oh yeah, this underguard gets under your car, gets in the cracks and crevices, protects you from all the, harmful materials that are placed on the roads here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I just was always the top salesman. So when I was 19 and get ready to go to school, they said, would you be our sales manager? Would you go around to all these different locations and teach our guys how to sell? And I did that for like 3 years until one day I just, oh, screw this. I can't do this anymore. This isn't what I want to do. And plus I was dating a girl at the time that was a bookkeeper of the car wash for the whole chain. And she found out this new guy that got hired was making like 20 grand more a year than me, and she told me, I was like, oh, this is BS, and I just tossed my keys at him and said, I'm out of here. Went to San Diego. But I was blessed with working with those guys because they trusted me a lot, and I got to learn a lot. And they've been in business since right after World War II. They had opened this thing, and then they had dozens of locations, and they're even bigger now. And I learned a lot from them because they would take me. Everybody else that was in my position, some kind of managerial position there was like 35 or 40, but they included me in everything and gave me some respect, which was pretty cool. But I got to see a lot of how they did things, the inner workings, and learned early on that advertising was a big thing. Because when you're young, you don't get exposed to it. And now kids do all the time. Now kids shoot. We have a girl that comes in here that's got a YouTube channel. Gee, she's making tons of money, and she sells merch on there. And it's crazy how wise they are now. That's my daughter's like, oh, Dad, I'm taking over your Instagram account. Because all I pretty much do on Instagram is I use it as a gallery because it's linked to our website, and
right.
People can see what they're doing because, I wear a lot of hats here, so, but I might turn it over to her for a month or two and call her bluff and see, but these kids are so much sharper than we were at that age. She's 16.
Okay.
Yeah. She's going to blow that Instagram up in a good way.
Yeah. She's so, matter of fact, they went to a birthday party yesterday, and my wife was telling me, I was worried how Gianna was going to do at this party, but because it was one of our customers they're pretty well off. I mean, they're like in a $3.5 million house, and she's, gosh, Gianna's just filling in with everybody. She comes back, hey Mom, these people in this company, these people in that company, these people just moved from California, they do this. I mean, she's really sharp. I think I told you once, Andy, in Instagram, she got bit by a rattlesnake when she was 2 years old. And we always joke it just kind of gave her superhuman powers, just like Spider-Man. She's ridiculously strong. It's like I'm at the point now where I don't want to arm wrestle her anymore. It's just really pretty and just really smart.
Where were you when she got bit by a rattlesnake?
About 3 feet away from her. We have twin boys who are 4 years older than her, and she's always known how to push their buttons, and even when she was 2. And I said, well, what, let's go outside and we'll throw the ball with Chloe. That was our yellow lab we had. And she goes outside, and this is when we were living in California, and she reaches down to grab a tennis ball, and it was hot, and it was real hot early in the year, and all these snakes apparently came out, and there was a baby. And just as she grabbed that ball, that thing lashed right under, I saw it out the corner of my eye, and it lashed onto her wrist. And she flung her arm, and it flew away, and she's like, what happened? And literally, I'm not kidding you, within about a minute, it just started changing color, and I'm freaking out. Kim's down at the gym working out. We lived in a town called Ramona, which is a suburb of San Diego, way up in the mountains, and we kind of lived in the country there. And I immediately called 911 and, said, hey, we live right next to this big gated community, and we were like on these big parcels outside of it. So don't go through the gate, because the gate was a typical California road, up a windy road. And sure enough, man, they went barreling right through the gate, knocked the gate over. Why? Because there's a lot of volunteer fire department like that. We finally get to knock this gate down. And they had to go all the way up this hill, make a U-turn, and come back. And they get there, and the girl, the one paramedic, starts laughing. I can't get an IV started. I give up. and I'm like freaking out, and they could hear me on the two-way radio. And you guys want to hear all this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You're already so deep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So they could hear me on the two-way radio, and then like, ma'am or sir, calm down. We're going to get somebody out there right away. And she goes, what's your address? Because they apparently can't remember what the address was. So I tell them, and they sent a chopper out. And to this day, she was the brother's hero because a helicopter landed in our yard, and they were there within a few minutes. And literally as they were taking off, because they got my cell phone number, they wouldn't let me go on the helicopter because they said payload reasons. I think they probably just didn't want a hysterical dad in there with them. And the guy called me because we've got the IV started. And I was able to get a hold of Kim, and Kim was down in San Diego because we had 2 locations for our business then. And she was going from our El Cajon location, which is in East San Diego County. And they were going to Children's Hospital. She went to Children's Hospital from the gym. And as she was getting out, a helicopter was coming in, landing, and I was stuck in traffic. And we got there, and it was crazy, man. By the time we got there, her forearm was getting real big. And it doesn't go through your blood; it goes through your lymph nodes, subcutaneous. But it was crazy because they were saying it could come up and it could start collapsing her lungs, And we're like, oh my God! And so we're going to start some antivenom, but they didn't have much antivenom because it was early in the year; it wasn't really snake season yet. They said 5 vials should be enough. Well, and they administer them every so often. They have to warm them up with their hands. It's really a surreal thing. And after 5, it's still growing. And there's this big blister forming, blisters all over her arms, and her arms turning black. Dang. And long story short, after 2 days, she had 27 vials of antivenom, the most ever given.
And they said 5?
Said 5. Well, because it was a baby, and it released all the venom, but they found out later that for some reason the snakes were getting way more, their venom was way more aggressive, I guess the way to say it. Because a couple of weeks after that, a news anchor in San Diego was jogging through this park called Mission Trails Park, and she got bit. She wound up losing her leg and almost died. And because they're hybridizing with all these snakes, people bring these exotic snakes up. I don't want it as a pet, and they throw it away. I mean, half the people, not half the people, but a lot of people I knew in San Diego had all these exotic birds that I'm sure they had smuggled up there, which is the wrong thing to do. But the same thing with snakes and all these other reptiles. I mean, you'd see some weird stuff that wasn't really indigenous. It's like pythons in the Everglades, right? But anyway, after 5 days, they lanced that blister because all the poison kind of comes to one spot. And they lanced it, which was in the palm of her hand. And they took it's highly toxic. Remember, she's 25 months old. So she's got IVs, she's flailing around, and she's in intensive care. And it's sad. I tell you, when you look at the people that work in these children's hospitals and you see what they go through on a daily basis. I mean, Gianna was able to leave, she was fine, but there was little children in there that was terrible state. I mean, a lot of kudos to them for what they go through. But 5 days later, she came home and, she was all bandaged up. My dad came out. He was really cool and, would change the dressing every day because, we had to get back to work. And, but it was $500,000, $497,000.
Oh my God.
$11,000 per vial for a human antivenom. But for a dog, it's $400. Now we had insurance, but, there's intensive care, the life flight, but it makes you wonder why they're charging this for that and that for this, like I said. Does she
have a snake phobia now, or does she love snakes?
She thinks she remembers it, but I don't think she remembers it. She definitely doesn't love snakes. But I think we're all freaked out, in that year, because by then we had our 2 storefronts for our business, and I built a shop on my property. And so that we could work at home. I had my automatic there. I had a couple manuals, and we brought our embroidery machines up there. And so we were doing everything at home as far as production because I wanted to be there all the time after that. And then, what the heck was I going to say again?
Did you still have your video store?
Oh, no, we sold that in 1991 to her brother. The one that was the silent partner, and he ran it out of business in about 6 months. It's kind of sad because I think it actually could probably still be there because it was in such a good pocket of yuppies and condos. I mean, most of our customers walked to the store. I mean, it was pretty cool. They rode their bicycle. Hardly anybody drove their car, which was good because when there was a Padres or Chargers game, there was never any parking. And I was young and cocky back then. I'd go out there and argue with people. Hey, man, you can't park here. I'll tow you away. And then I looked in the mirror and realized, wait a minute, I'm 5'9", about 165 at the time, and those guys are huge. And so I learned to back off. But
Now, did you sell it? Did you sell it because things were going a certain way, or you just wanted to get out of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, we never had a Friday or Saturday off. Her brother had lost his contract over in Saudi Arabia, which we found out later, typically at 9 years, 11 months, they cancel their contract. So they don't have to, pay them their pensions or whatever,
right.
So that was kind of commonplace. And by then he wanted to stay there. It was one of those things where, I've heard you talk about partners before, sometimes it just wasn't working out. He had one philosophy. We had another, somebody would keep a movie out for 15 days, be a $45 late charge. And I come in, I'd see the little log sheet and I'd say, Mickey, you only charged $21 for the late charge. Oh, I wanted to cut him some slack. I go, well, their next $24 of the rentals are free. And we called him every day for that. So it's like just dumb little things like that. We didn't argue about, we just disagreed about. It was, that money came in handy because we were able to buy more equipment and do some things to our house we wanted to do, so, and at the time it seemed like, Video Library was blowing up everywhere, which eventually got bought out by Blockbuster. So it was apparent that we weren't going to be able to really expand it because they had sucked up all the good locations. Even as much as San Diego grows, there really wasn't an opportunity to expand beyond that one store unless we were going to be 15 miles away, and we didn't want to do that. And by then, the Marketing Works, which is what it was called back then, was doing pretty well. So, and that's where we wanted to focus. So
you decided to sell, and you said you upgraded stuff, but you still had your shop at home?
No. By then we already had our storefront in our location, the warehouse. When Gianna got bit, which is 13 years ago, 13 and a half years ago, by then we had already grown. That's 10 years after selling the video store, 12 years after selling the video store.
Okay.
Remember, I'm old. We built the shop on the property so I could be at home. And it's funny, had I have known what the internet was going to do, because we moved here in 2010, I probably wouldn't have sold that place. I probably would have stayed there because now with online, you can pretty much be anywhere. Because we had kind of a sweet setup, a neat piece of property. But in 2008, a lot of our retail customers there, because by then we had lost a big dirt bike customer, which was a big part of our business, the old eggs in one basket. And we were doing a lot of stuff for contractors, builders. And in 2008, when the economy went down, man, every one of those guys we dealt with, really cool people, they all went out of business. They moved out of state. They took part-time jobs at Home Depot or whatever. So that was a big part of our business because, we'd do one for one contractor. He'd tell his buddy. They try to outdo each other. And they were great, for about 7 or 8 years. It was a great run with those guys. But sadly, a lot of them, lost it because they were building these big spec houses where if they didn't sell that house within 6 months, their construction loan would come due and they'd have a huge nut to crack every month because, you just can't build a cheap house in California anymore. You have to build something ostentatious in order to realize a profit as a builder, So yeah.
What was the reason for moving to North Carolina then? It was just because,
the kids, partly was the kids, we kind of saw the economy changing out there. Taxes were going through the roof. Politics were changing a lot. San Diego was different when I got there. A lot of stuff was given out for free. And when she got bit by the rattlesnake, it kind of opened our eyes because we wouldn't have had insurance. We would have lost everything. But yet, California's happy to give anybody that has a pulse anything, and it was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And we kind of did a dumb thing. When we bought that 8-acre parcel and built the shop, we built, quote unquote, a guest house first, which was real small. And then we're going to build a bigger house. Well, we figured out, wait, if we build this big house, our property taxes are going to be through the roof because the property taxes out there are ridiculous. And the sales tax, the property tax, the state income tax, it was like, this is crazy. So on a whim, we came back here after a friend of ours came back here and he's like, oh, dude, you can get a really nice house. The climate's nice. We're on Lake Norman here, which is a huge lake outside of Charlotte. And there's a good business climate. Like I said, I think it's over 400 of the 500 Fortune 500 companies have offices here, plus Lowe's headquarters are here. And so all their vendors have to come here. All the little hotels here are always booked up because they have to go and call on Lowe's, these rack jobber guys, like once a week have to come in and call them. So we saw an opportunity to come here and we had scouted out the screen printers here and thought, you know what, we'll go there and we'll open a new business. We'll call it Your Logo Wear. And at the same time, I had just started Rodtees, and was starting. As a matter of fact, when I first got here, the week we got here, I had like 5 orders in my email. I was like, wow, wait a minute, maybe this Rodtees is, it was kind of just on a whim. I was doing it on this other, this kind of car website I was on called the Jalopy Journal, where a bunch of car guys go, because you're always buying and selling parts and swapping cars and learning about things. And I was able to get a lot of business off of there. So it started growing, So
you moved to Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have family there. You had only visited, and I guess you had a friend there.
Yeah. We wound up having like 7 of us, a group of friends moved here,
From California or
from California. We were the first to buy and the last ones to get here. We bought in 2005. We didn't move here till 2010, so we rented that house out here for, 5 years.
So I've always wondered this. How did you exit out of the last shop, the last business? Did you
sold
sell
it to a friend?
Okay. And did you do okay? I mean, how does that work?
We sold it too cheap, and we were selling it to him. He's still one of my best friends and a super great guy, and they have since divorced. It was crazy. And they were supposed to cash us out, and they wound up not being able to. We trained him for 6 months. So I really wanted, because he was such a dear friend, I wanted to make sure he really knew everything, and he was in kind of a back-breaking business. He was a contractor too, and he was going to get, by the time he got 40, he was going to get to where he couldn't bend over anymore. And he always liked our business. He's always one of our best customers. He loved the creative part of it. So we sold to them, and she just right when we first started training her, I told my wife, I don't know if this is going to work out quite right, but long story short, we didn't get all our money. But like my wife always says, it got us here. We love it here. It's really nice. And, it was a bummer. And then she changed the name of the business, which made no sense because that business had been in business since 1988. And then we did stuff for the local radio station, the big Sky show they have down there. We were friends with the one of the top rated morning shows there, and we'd be on the radio all the time talking to them. And one of the sports channels there too, I would call in, talk to my friends about sports on there. So we got a lot of free publicity, and it had a really good reputation. But for some reason, she changed the name, moved the location.
At the time that you sold it, how many people were working there? Like, did you have people in place, like a press operator and customer service and things like that?
Remember, this was post 2008, so our business had gone down. So we had trimmed down. I think there was 4 people full-time and a couple part-timers that came in after school, reclaiming screens and folding and packing, bagging, tagging. But then when they bought it, I think they only kept our embroidery guy because they and one of their sons were going to do the screen printing, and she was going to do. We've always done signs and banners, and so they were going to do that. But they got our one embroidery guy who did most of the machines, and he was great, man. He was a funny guy, He loved doing embroidery, which I don't want to do, but yeah. I mean he literally, when I hired him, he was 50 years old and he still lived with his mom. Because he'd been through some hard. I think the 70s were kind of rough on him, but he took the Tajima book home. He would take it home on the weekends and he'd read it. He knew that machine. We never had to pay for a service call. He could fix anything. He loved that machine, but he was funny, man. Did you ever see the show Taxi?
Oh yeah,
the TV show, not the movie.
Yep. Yeah.
And Christopher Lloyd, Greg at work for us. He was kind of a cross between Jim from Taxi and Kramer on Seinfeld. He was like 6'5". He towered over me, but he was just funny. I mean, he had some synapse issues, but he could run that embroidery machine. I mean, he'd talk to you at 8 o'clock in the morning, about something, and then at like 4 o'clock, he'd say, that redheaded guy's really funny. I'm like, what are we talking about? Well, that 70s show, man, we were talking about that at 8:15 this morning when we were getting started. He was funny. And I remember when, I didn't mean to talk about Greg, but he's funny, man. He just loved working for us, and he was the coolest dude. But I remember when Kim and I got married, because we didn't get married for a long time because you have your business, you always have to reinvest and everything. And Stephanie, one of the girls that worked for us, said, "Oh, Greg's really excited about the wedding gift he got you." And I remember I said he's like Jim and Kramer kind of combined. And I said, "Oh, wow." So the day after our wedding, we're opening all our gifts. It's all this stuff I don't care about, place settings and all that junk. And finally I go, "Oh, here's the one from Greg." There's been a whole big pomp and circumstance. And if I gave you guys 1,000 guesses, I don't think you could guess what he got us. But it was funny because we opened it up. All our friends or family are on there. And he got us one of those lightning balls where you touch the ball and the static electricity makes the lightning bolts go out. And he was so excited.
It's such a random gift.
Yeah, he was funny, man. We would always take our whole crew out, every year. And the rule was just, the crew, nobody else. And we take them to Ruth Chris. And then we'd take them to see a show, and like a Broadway show that might be in San Diego or a concert. We'd always see what was happening, and we'd take them. And he was always late to those things. We're always waiting. That's funny. You're just going to have to meet us down there, Greg. And he shows up, and every year he would bring somebody, and it'd be some crazy lady that would order 10 martinis. And like, Greg, you're paying for this. I'm not paying for her dinner. Because Ruth Chris, they didn't get to be a big change by not charging.
It was his excuse to bring a date.
Yeah, I can't get her out of my mind. We always say he was so funny, man.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
You're mentioning part-time help. What do you think of summer help? I had in the past anyway, have only done it one other time where you hire somebody for the summer. Let's say they're out of school, for the summer. And because I've always thought by the time they're trained and they're good, then they're leaving us, And so, but with the current job labor market problems, I said, fuck it. And somebody came in on Monday and I hired her on the spot. And I just had a good feeling. I think that she's going to be capable of learning. So it was for the quality control. So at the end of the dryer, I just had a good feeling that I can train her within a week, probably quicker. And she's here, she's willing and able. And I got a good, positive energy vibe. And so I did it. And she's only here until, mid-August, I guess, or late August, but we have somebody, And so I know we're going to lose her in a few months, but I don't know. I'm okay with it because we needed somebody so badly that it solved the problem for now. And so, how do you guys do that as far as, I guess, temporary help it's called, do you do that kind of thing?
Are you going to go or?
We've done it a bunch of times and it's always for that position. It's always for catching at the end of the dryer. And like you said, it's not hard. It's not a difficult job. It's just take the shirts, if they have to go in different boxes, make sure they know what's going on with that. Or if they need bagging and tagging, look at the box that's got a label on it that says bags or tags. Other than that, it's just kind of the same thing. We've had a couple times we've had this one or two different guys or girls that were in high school and they would work all summer long, and then they would go back to school, and then we'd probably see them next summer. You know what I mean? They'd be like, "Oh, this is my summer job. I work at Upstate." So it worked out a couple times, but now we have a full-time person doing that, and she does other things as well. But I don't know. I think it works out for certain positions. It's not something I would want to hire somebody to work on press because I feel like that's too much of a skill to learn in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's always hard to commit to somebody. It just seemed like a year ago, I had people coming in every day, applying for jobs, and because there's some big shops here in town and some fulfillment houses, and because we do a lot of DTG fulfillment, and a lot of guys coming here applying for. There's been nobody. I can't remember the last time somebody actually walked through the door here. So my sons are both going away to school in the fall, so they're our summer help. And they know what's going on, but we've always had good luck. In California, it's funny, people, they would see us working late, because, especially early on when you first start, you work a lot of hours, it seems, as you're growing. And especially if you love what you do, which we do. And they say, oh man, my son, I want him to learn a work ethic from you because he won't listen to me. It's just like, my kids, I don't know if they appreciate what I do as much as if they work for somebody else. And we always lucked out. We always got really good people. And some of them would say, you know what, I'm going to go to school local. Can I work here? And we even had a 13-year-old kid that used to come in every day after school. And he got really good at reclaiming screens, and he worked for us for 5 years until he went away to Colorado to go to school, But it started out as a summer job. But we've never really California was different because we had year-round T-shirt weather. That is the difference between here and there too. And that's why, thank God, we have the online stuff we're doing, because here we don't get much of a winter. I grew up in northern Indiana. I know Dylan grew up in upstate New York. Man, you get some crazy winters. But California was t-shirt weather year round. So it was like it was always something like you would have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that now is like the perfect time to do it. And so I did it. And she was here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And she had Friday off, but she needs all Fridays off. But those 3 days that she was here, she was awesome. Yeah, worked out perfect.
She didn't get overwhelmed being at the end of the dryer?
No, I think that I always warn people, because I don't want them to say, yeah, I'll work there. And then they show up and then they don't, they're like, oh, they're overwhelmed or whatever. And so I let them know that it's stressful and that
it just reminds me of Tony's story about when he hired that girl at the end of the dryer and he had both autos and the manual running on the same dryer on her first like person. 10 minutes. Yeah, just one person. And she was like, get me out of here.
No. I mean, I always put somebody with them at first, so they're not just thrown out to the wolves, they have some support. But also our 14-year-old, our kiddo, is here helping us. And it was the first time, like he's helped on and off, here and there for like on a Saturday or something like that. But this is his first real like 40-hour week was last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
how did that go?
And so it could have, it went way better than I thought, but I sat him down like when we got here on Monday morning, I sat him down and I said, look, there's no goofing off and everybody here will know if you are goofing off and they won't respect you for it. They know when somebody's working, when somebody's not. And so I want you to come in here and show them that, you mean business and that I'm not going to cut you any slack. I'm not going to be like, it's the boss's kid. And so, he cannot work as hard. If anything, you're going to have to work harder and I'm going to be harder on you than anyone here. And so, because really it's an opportunity, what he doesn't realize, and maybe he does now after being here a week, it's a huge opportunity for him because, you can't go get a job at a place at his age and he's trying to save for a car, right? So he's going to be 16 in a while and he wants to have a car. Well, this is a huge opportunity for him to make some money and also learn a whole lot, at a young age, like what it's like to work in a shop. There's a bunch of us here and we all have different personalities and it's not like you have to work for 4 hours or something. You have to work here all day, and that's different for like a 14-year-old. Maturity is only that, and so that's a difficult thing. I
can't wait for you to give him that talk of like he fucks something up and you're like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
So he was on screens at first, right? And we have thin thread and I showed him. We had one that was sitting over there that had the tiniest little hole. And I went over and I said, push on that hole. And he pushed on it and the whole thing split, right? And then he goes, whoa. And so I said, all right, you got to be gentle with these and you can't, be rough with them and they'll pop. And they're like $30 each. And he goes, okay. And so he starts pulling tape and then and by the end of, there was like 100 screens, let's say, he pulled tape and he also started cleaning a few of the frames. Well, he broke 3 of them. And Kyle.
And he slept outside and didn't eat dinner that night.
It's like, hey, the first few are on us and the rest are going to cost you. And you might end up owing us money at the end of the day. But no, he didn't break any after that because you have to get used to him. You have to get used, thin threads are just a different beast and you have to know how to handle them. And it takes a couple of pops to know, oh shit, I got to be really careful.
Ken, do you have any funny stories? Because obviously you said your kids are working for you too. Do you have anything that they've done that's like?
Yeah, I got a couple funny ones on them. But this kid Eddie that used to work for us, he used to come into the shop, and he rode in every day. He was getting big, but he still rode his little bike, his little BMX bike, and he had a huge helmet on. I mean, he could barely hold his head up. The helmet was so big. He wore like a big old motorcycle helmet. And he would come in. I told Tanya, who was working for us, and she always got a kick out. I said, man, let's mess with Eddie. So we would always set the clock back, or set the clock forward when he came in. Like we did this like 3 times to him. But Eddie, where in the hell have you been? It's 4:15. For reals? I must have been daydreaming or something. I do that sometimes, Ken. And so he'd start working, and when he was over there reclaiming screens or whatever, then we'd turn it back, and he'd go, oh, wow, this day's going long. And he only worked till 6 o'clock. He worked like 2 hours and 45 minutes every day, but he was a great kid and whatnot. But my boys, I have twin boys, and Jake, he's like real fastidious. I mean, his room's always nice and neat. He doesn't keep himself real neat, but he keeps this room nice and neat. And like when he lays shirt, he goes, hey, go back and lay shirts flat. I don't know what you guys call that. So he's lay shirts flat. And he cuts them, and it looks like a freaking cookie cutter came down and cut them. I mean, it's like, I marvel at it every time. And he still to this day will do it, and whereas Josh does it, and he just it looks like complete crap because he's preoccupied. Josh is he's extremely smart, but he's always preoccupied. Like, you'll go, hey, can you pour me some milk? And he'll put his glass over there. And then while you're pouring the milk, he'll pull it back and he's thinking about something else. And there's like a puddle of milk on the table. He's just preoccupied, But
were they two egg or were they identical twins?
They're fraternal. So they're not identical, they're fraternal.
Right.
Yeah. But, and they're completely different. I mean, they're completely different. Jake's the kid when you're watching a movie, he wants to talk the whole time. And Josh is the one, yeah, I know. And Josh is the one, he wants to sink down on the couch and just watch. And he's like, Dad, he says everything he's thinking. But yet Jake is just the absolute nicest, sweetest kid, So it's funny to see them grow up, and now they're young men, and to see how they've pretty much stayed the same. I mean, I can remember when they're 16 months old and they bite each other, and how one would react one way and one would react the other way. It's funny, but yeah, I mean, they same thing as you, Andy. Yeah, if you mess something up, you're going to pay for it. Matter of fact, Jake was pre-treating shirts the other day for DTG, and he kind of messed a few up. I go, hey, we can't do this anymore. You got to pay attention. I go, everybody else here pays attention. They take it seriously, because I've never had the attitude that I'm the owner or whatever. We all work. I always say we all work together, because we do. I mean, I can't do what we do without whoever works with us and whatever business we've had, and so they it's been good for them to be around here and see that, and realize that, yeah, you're the owner's son, but the owner's not shit, and neither are you. We're just part of a team. So I think that's been good for them, and I think they've learned a work ethic, through all this. But they're funny, because I don't know, print a cool shirt or something. I don't want your stuff. I don't want your crap. They want to buy some $60 Travis Scott shirt offline. I'm like, what? I go, and I can't spend money on a shirt. No, I'm sure
never again.
It absolutely kills me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I quit buying concert shirts when I was like 21, because I'm like, no, I know what they cost. So it's funny, man. It's a weird journey,
So dive into a little bit your fulfillment side of the business. Like, how much of that is, I guess, your business? Yeah,
it's grown every year, because what's happened is we've been working with all these different artists. I know you guys work with probably some different artists, and a lot of them are like in the car culture thing. They do these cool pieces of artwork, but it is 10 years ago. You just say, oh wow, man, you got to get 144 minimum. You got to tie up some money. It's a process print. And then, nobody wants to do that, to gamble on an idea. There's very few people that do. I mean, we still have people come in that are willing to, take and I want to ask about this later, about being honest with customers on their ideas. But, they'll have these great artwork just laying around. They can't do anything with it. So we started a site called gearheadtees.com, and we have collections from different artists on there. And then they promote it. And then we promote it on all those different Facebook pages I have, and some on Instagram, of course. And so the orders come in, and we fulfill them every day, and then they get a monthly payout. And it's not a huge part of our business yet, but it's been steadily growing. Once again, it's kind of figuring out the algorithm and how you can promote this stuff without having to spend a fortune in ads. Because my deal with them is they don't have to pay anything. There's no risk to them, obviously. Right. It's just like the big fulfillment places. But what we offer them that the bigger fulfillment places don't have, I mean, they have incredible systems, these big places, but since we know what they're selling and we speak their language, and I get that, well, Rodtees consistently, I had that 8 million a month, and it's leveled back off to around 2 million a month in views, but that's a lot. So we're able to, we pimp their stuff on that page and all the other pages we have. So we help them promote it too. And then we always give credit to the artist. Whenever I post something that's done by an artist, I go, hey, here's a cool shirt we printed for so-and-so, artwork by Dylan Gilligan, blah, blah, blah. And, because I want to make sure that they get credit for it, because then they'll hopefully get a commission as an art commission, because a lot of these guys, that's mainly what they do. They're designing shirts for these hot rod shops and events around the country. And if we can help them do that, and then typically if they're in our neck of the woods, they'll refer the job to us, especially if it's a DTG job. I mean, it's crazy how much DTG we do now compared to what we did, 2-3 years ago. And so that's how we do almost all of the fulfillment. I mean, there's some one color jobs. It's just as easy as slap a screen on the press for a one color job, but most of the stuff is full color, which that's where DTG is.
So how do you feel about the DTG trends now? What do you use for a machine? And are you expecting to upgrade or do something differently, or any kind of hybrid printing in the future?
Yeah, we're gonna upgrade our machines. We have Epsons now, and they're great. Let me say they print really good quality, but their consumables are crazy. It's a consumable thing. They want to sell you ink, and their customer support. I mean, I don't like to badmouth a vendor, but you have to deal with this one company, and we've had a couple of just hinky issues with them not getting here in time. If they don't get here in time, a $2,300 print head, just like that. I mean, they dry up. And sometimes it can be a little repair. Now, having gone through this a few times, I can pretty much take those machines apart and put them back together myself. But we're changing. We're actually, in fact, we're meeting with a gentleman tomorrow and looking at some printers. And so we're going to upgrade those, go to faster machines, because the Epsons aren't fast, but they're good. And then we're starting, I think I may have messaged you a couple of times, Dylan, about DTF. We've actually done some DTF here at the shop, and with pretty good results. And for a fulfillment thing, it's kind of cool for, having them pre-printed, just like any other transfer. But to be able to do a full color pre-printed thing and be able to do one if you want to, or if you need to do 9, or if you need to do 99, it's something that's going to come around. What I like about that is you can go on a lot of different fabrics with it. I mean, shoot, even this cup here, that's a DTF transfer, believe it or not, on a powder coated tumbler. And it's been through the dishwasher a lot, and then that's just with us experimenting with it here at the shop. I don't even know what the guidelines were, if they've even tried that, but I put it on wood. I put it on all kinds of polyester. I put it on cardboard. I even did talking to my friend, I did a single ply piece of toilet paper just to see if it would transfer. And it did. It's crazy. So that's pretty neat. I mean, it's never going to take the place of screen printing as the main part of our business, but for the fulfillment side, which really
it's nice. It's nice for high color, small quantity.
Yeah. Like the super color stuff. We're using that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're still experimenting with it. We can do them on our machines, but we want to get a dedicated DTF printer. So we just subbed out a job to Supercolor. I think they're going to be here on Monday. So we'll see. Have you looked into buying a machine? Yeah, and that's the thing is it's funny because I don't know how much of it you watch on YouTube. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, it'd be like everybody's selling a new Dodge Challenger with a Hellcat engine in it, but everybody tells you a different story about it. I mean, and when you go and ask better questions than what they have answers for, or the answers they're giving you up front aren't as good as your questions, it's kind of weird. I mean, because they've been doing it overseas for a long time, and it's frustrating. And then they're all selling different machines, but then they're all selling the same machines too that are repackaged. It's I don't want to be the guinea pig. I've made some dumb purchases in the past on stuff, and I don't want to make another bad purchase. I want something that's going to be fast. It's going to be good. Because the one thing I'm finding on the bigger machines that we've had samples done, the fine text doesn't come out real good. And I don't know if it's because it's just such a small deposit of ink, it dries in. But when we do DTF prints on our DTG printer, they come out killer with the fine text, but it's slow. But it's also, it's handy because the other thing that DTF gives you is the ability to do some crazy placement. If you want to do an iron on an armpit, or we've done the sweatbands of hats, waistband of a hoodie. you can do that. Or, the inside of a hoodie, it's easy to do, and you can gang stuff up. Where I think DTF is really going to be good is for hats and for, gang prints of, of course, neck labels, to be able to do a full color neck label for a small brand. Maybe some guy's only getting 50 shirts, but he really wants to, he wants his brand to look, trick from the beginning. I think that's where it's going to come into play.
Yeah,
but
I think so too. I think it's more just for specific, like you said, specific items and specific, like we try to tell people is, I feel like some people get into the mindset of like screen print for life or digital's coming in and it's going to take over. I feel like it's just, you should use all these things and it's all just tools.
Yeah.
Like you should have every tool you can to make the best thing for your customer. Like I said, we screen print everything, but we have certain customers that are like, oh, I want like an 8-color sleeve print that's like 3 inches wide.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that makes total sense to do TTF for, because then it's going to be like a high quality, print on that super small 8-color sleeve. So we've done stuff like that, or like you said, like hats or whatever else. So if I can give them a better quality product that'll last, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in how it was made necessarily.
Well, too, like here, when I was in San Diego, I can't ever remember printing any 50-50 shirts or ever doing a dry fit shirt. I mean, honestly, and barely any fleece. But here, they love 50-50. They love the cotton blend. And like, you can't do DTG on that. It's just going to bleed like crazy. But you can do DTF, and it'll look pretty trick, And so and in certain colors too. I mean, do you guys do DTG, either one of you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the pre-treat's an issue. I mean, they'll tell you one thing, but even you got to kind of sneak up on it, like on a sports gray shirt or a pink shirt or something like that. I mean, it's just kind of like discharge. Discharge has its temperament as well. You'll get this terrible square from the pre-treat on a shirt if you're not careful, especially on the weird colors. Whereas with DTF, that doesn't exist at all. I mean,
have you tried the pre-treated shirts from Sanmar?
Yeah, we did, and the colors just don't pop as well. And they're pricey. And there's a company called RTP, Ready to Print, and they do it too. Their shirts are real silky, but I wear an extra large, and after I wash it one time, I'm walking around like this. It's like way too small. And if I lose weight, I could wear a large, but I'm not making that commitment yet. God.
So I don't know a whole lot about DTF. Can you explain it a little further? And my question is when it prints and you transfer it, is it just the image or is it like a square? You know what I mean? Or a circle or whatever. I mean, how does it work?
Well, sure. First thing you're doing, you're laying down color first. Like a DTG print, you lay a white on it. Let's say we're saying we're doing black shirts.
Just in reverse.
Yeah, you do it first, but you do a real fit, like on the Epson, for example. You do quite a bit of white ink. I mean, the ink is expensive. It's like $365 a liter if you're using cartridges, and then the bulk is way cheaper, but still expensive. And the other brands are cheaper. But you lay down your color pass first, and then the white pass comes on. With DTF, you can do a much lighter white pass. So even on a DTG machine, you're using less ink. So right there's a savings. But what you do is after that image comes off of this PET film, you pull it off, and then you can they have these shaker dryer units that you can get if you're doing big run. It's like a conveyor dryer, and the film comes down and goes back up. And while it's at the bottom, there's a little almost like a camshaft that's vibrating it, and this powder comes down, it shakes it on there. And the powder, just like a transfer that you'd screen print, sticks to the ink, and then you flick it off like normal, and then you cure it. And then once it's cured, you can transfer it. What's interesting, it doesn't leave any staining at all. I mean, like a pre-treat. It's just like a screen printed transfer. And when you iron it on, you're just laying down ink. What's interesting about it is it just comes off so clean. I mean, I'm really shocked at how well it does, because I think I discovered it about 6 or 7 months ago, and pretty much almost daily since then I've been researching it and talking to vendors. And I see somebody buy a machine, I call them and try to pick their brain.
How does it feel? Does it feel like a screen print, or what does it feel like?
Well, what's interesting, it definitely has a rubbery feel to it. It's kind of in between screen printing and DTG. DTG has a certain hand to it. Plastisol would be the example I'd give, has a different feel to it. But if you iron on it again, after, you post cure it, you peel it and then you do another 5 seconds. What we've found, and my wife will get mad for me telling it, but this is a show about sharing. I've just taken a piece of t-shirt material and I iron it on instead of using a cover sheet, and it gets a really neat hand to it. I mean, it's really cool.
Scott was telling me that the other day because I was asking him, because I said my only downfall with certain Supercolor transfers I was getting that like glue halo effect around the image. He was like, yeah, I just like do a quick like 4 to 5 second press with what's it called? Fucking parchment paper. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, that goes away. So same kind of thing. You're putting the t-shirt material on, so it kind of gives it that matte, like printed in the fiber look. Exactly.
And it goes into the fiber pretty good too. I will say, like on a dry fit shirt, it definitely has a plasticky feel, but like a lot of the soccer clubs that we print for, I mean, they've been getting Stahls transfers forever, and we do like all their camp shirts and tournament shirts and stuff, but we like, hey, I'd like to do your some of these soccer clubs have 4,000 kids, and each kid gets 3 to 4 practice shirts, and they're all going to dry fit. I want to be able to do them, and they're all doing Stahls iron-ons. The guys that were doing them through this big soccer company that does fulfillment for most of the big clubs. So it's really effective for that stuff because it's slow, but if you're ganging up 16 at a time, full color, it's great because it winds up costing pennies a piece. I mean. I'm sure Supercolor, they're in a really good position right now. I mean, they're doing great business. They do great quality. I mean, the samples they sent me are phenomenal. And like I said, tomorrow, I think we're set to receive our first order for them because I'm not 100% confident. I want to make sure that we do at least 35 to 40 washings with the ones that
I'm in the exact same boat you're in. Is like, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, I got the sample kit from them. I was like, oh, these samples look really good, but I want to order like a 10 color print, like our own upstate design. Right. I got like a big one too. I got like whatever it was, like 12 wide by like 16 tall, full color print. And same thing. I just want to press it. I want to do a bunch of washes on it. I did it on a hoodie. I did it on a tee. I did it on a like a nylon windbreaker. Same thing. I just want to wash them a bunch of times and just do as much research on it as I can before I just offer it to customers. But like I said, I'm going to try to use it for certain things that make sense on. I'm not trying to get rid of the screen printed stuff. I just think that there's a lot of uses it could. Oh,
there's a lot of add-ons. And how many times have you had that guy? Oh, I forgot my best salesman needs 5 shirts, and it's just some 7-color job you just printed or something. You're like, oh, tell you what I can do for you. I can do this. Because we've done that with DTG. We're like, hey, it's not going to look the same, but at least Bob's going to be able to go to the banquet wearing a shirt that looks, pretty similar to everybody else's. Mm-hmm.
We just get a lot of like clothing brands or art, like a designer that's just like, hey, I have this really rad design. It's like a 10 color, but like I really only need like 12 to like try out. Like I don't need 100 because anything that's over like whatever, like an 8 color, we say minimum is like 100 pieces. So if they're like, I really only need like 12 to 25, like I'm not going to need 100. I don't have the money for 100. I feel like stuff like this kind of comes in handy to be like, all right, well, this will let you get the design you want, test the waters. And then if you want to order 100 later, cool, we'll print them. But like this will get you as close as you can without breaking the bank, I guess.
Like we have a couple of small landscape companies that come in here and, it might be like a 2-man crew. So they don't need a whole lot of stuff. They've got, however many accounts they have that they go cut lawns, but they want to look good, but they want a jacket, they want a couple hoodies. They want a Dickies or a Red Cap work shirt, so you can't use the same ink on everything. If they want dry fit, then you want a Dickies work shirt, they want a hoodie, they want a nylon jacket. Now you can do that for them and have it look pretty killer. I mean, the nylon jackets are the things I've been the most blown away by because none of us likes printing nylon jackets. Yeah. God,
like again, same boat. That was the reason why I started researching in these is because we have a good customer who just keeps asking us. He's like, hey, I want to get these Coach jackets, like the windbreaker ones. And he always wants like a 6-color print or something. I'm like, I don't want to print on those. Like I have zero desire to print on windbreakers. And that's why we got that sample kit and got stuff going because we knew that it could work on those. So that's just opening my eyes to that.
Nightmare. It was right before we left California. And I was training Eric, the guy that bought our company, and this big brick company wanted to get a 6-color print on nylon windbreakers. And he's, I want to get it. This could be our first big account. I'm like, oh my God. So we did. And it was like one of the most hellacious days of my life. Because by then half my shop was at his new shop, and just showing him how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do them. They turned out, but it was like it was like diffusing a bomb. It's like, do I cut the yellow wire or the red wire? It's just freaking me out. I don't like doing them, but
the problem is you want to make sure you have enough nylabond in there, and then the print might come out cool, but then if you send it through the dryer, it could melt, or you don't cure it enough, then the customer gets them and then they could just scratch it with their fingernail and the ink comes off. It's just one of those things. It's like, I don't care enough. Like, I don't have enough business in nylon jackets to be like, fuck yeah, let's dive deep into nylon jackets. I'd rather just tell the customer, like, yeah, we don't do those.
I remember when we were still in California, I had this little sporting goods shop I used to print for, and she was funny, man. She did, only thing she did, like her only customer was the high school. And I couldn't go after the high school because I didn't want to undercut her, because I mean, obviously could have done them way cheaper and gave them a lot more creativity than just a bulldog on a shirt all the time. But she had a bunch of these big quilted windbreakers. And I remember my mom was in town and wanted to stop by the shop and take us out to lunch. And those windbreakers were like $32 a piece. I forget what brand they were, but they were expensive. And we were printing them, and Jeff, the guy that worked for us at the time, wasn't paying attention. And they came out of the end of the dryer, and they were freaking just, crumpled up. And I remember I heaved them across the shop and, dropped a couple of F-bombs. My mom's freaking, oh, wait, you're going to have a heart attack. I was like, Mom, I literally, that was just $300 right there in just the blink of an eye. And I think that was the last time we did them. But that lady at that sports shop, she used to always give me her orders. And I don't know if you have customers do that, but she would just get a piece of paper, and she'd say, okay, well, I want this. And she's always smoking her cigarette while she's writing. Her shirts always smelled like cigarettes, which I could never understand how you could give those to a customer. But she would put a big X every time. And the logo goes right here. So if she finally got a big order, it was like for graduation or something. And she had like 525 shirts. So the top shirt in the first box, because she always want to crack open the shirt. So I got an extra shirt, and I printed that exact X that she did on the shirts. I thought she was going to have a stroke. She forgot to flick her ash, and it went down. Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, the DTF, I mean, I can think of a million opportunities where I could have used it. And somebody walked out the door where it could have been, because people, that's the one thing my wife points out about the online stuff. People really don't care nowadays about price if it's something like that's custom. I see guys selling one color shirts for $25 of a simple design. It's like, okay, people want that just because they want that. So if you can do a full color thing and they can get it for the price they want, they're stoked. And then you throw, hey, you're not paying setups. There's no minimums. But that being said, I don't ever want to quit screen printing. I want to be pumping that stuff through here too.
Yeah. Do you have any, I know we talked about windbreakers being horrible, but do you have any other like big customer horror stories that stand out?
Well, we hardly ever sub anything out now. But Supercolor has a great reputation. But once again, when we were in California, I forget how I met this guy. It was through another customer. But this guy was part of the elevator union, and everybody loves what they do. That's what's cool about what we do. The three of us and all of us that are watching, people are so stoked to come in and order their stuff. I mean, like when we started our video store, which was my first business, the first thing I wanted to do was order T-shirts. Our name was All Star Video. I did my logo. I was stoked to go get shirts. So we're blessed in that people, for the most part, are happy to see us. They get pissed off when the plumber's walking up their driveway. My grandfather was a plumber. He's like, man, nobody ever likes seeing me come to their house, because it's one of those things you just don't ever want to do.
So aggravating. Yeah.
Oh man. It's just so aggravating. But anyway, they wanted to get, it was their 100th anniversary of this elevator union, and they wanted to get these lapel pins. And I had started out working for that one guy. Like I said, he was doing embroidered patches and pins. He had a great source. There was a broker in San Diego who got them from Taiwan. And I used to sell tons to the military and whatnot. But these, they wanted to get these commemorative lapel pins. And it said like established, and it was like, I think 1894 or something like that. And they ordered 2,500 of these things, and it gave them camera ready artwork. And they came back, and it was, I can't even remember what it said now, but they were wrong. I'm like, oh shit. And they were expensive. They were, like $1.35 a piece because they were big and they had special coatings and stuff, special backing. And I was like, oh, man, that's like $3,300 or something, out of my pocket. And I was freaking out. Plus they needed them right away. And I go and show them to Donnie, the guy at the elevator thing. And he's like, I'll see what the guys say. I'm like, what are they going to fucking say? They're wrong. And he comes back, he ordered another 2,500. He goes, can we get these right? I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, the guys are pretty sure these can become collector's items. I'm like, yes, I'll make all the collector's items you want. It's just kind of like there's an old movie with Eddie Murphy called Trading Places where he breaks this vase and it's insured for like $50,000. You want me to break something else? Because it was the same thing. I was like, wow, that was lucky. But when I first started out, there was a fire department I was printing for. And I like, fire department's good niche, firemen are, they're gung ho and they love what they do. And they do tons of different designs for every, station house. But I did these shirts for this guy, and it was like 144 red shirts with a white print on both sides. Simple job. And the guy came in and he's like, hey, buddy, these are wrong. I know what's going on. The ink's coming off. I'm like, fuck. I'm freaking out. And they did. They look like complete shit. I'm like, what the hell? Check the temperature, and did I get a bad gallon of ink? And of course, always the disclaimer, always do who washes every shirt. I mean, I think at the next shop, I'm going to put a washer and dryer in. I mean, I think we all should probably, but anyway, I redid them again for him. No questions asked, because that's what you have to do. And he comes back in, buddy, they're not coming out at all. The guy had a real deep voice, and like, what the hell? He goes, they're just washing off. The guys aren't happy. The shirts are fading. I'm like, what? And I finally got smart and said, well, Saul, how are you washing them? Well, we put in the bleach. So they were putting bleach in with red shirts, and and I had printed by then 288 shirts, just to make the guy happy. So that was one of the horror stories. And then for that dirt bike company, this is when the big dye sub shirts were getting popular. For all the the factory riders, right? And all they wanted to do is like for each rider do like a set of 24 of each one, and they stunk back then. Those things really stunk when you went through the dryer. But they just wanted like the number, whatever the guy's name was, like Jeff Emig #1 or whatever they were ranked at that time. So we do all these things, and they were a pain in the ass. That you'd have to really almost reapply the adhesive every time because they just didn't want to. Back then, I was still using spray adhesive. And they stunk to high heaven, went through the, when the hairdresser who's in the shop next door comes over and complains that she can smell the stuff, it's bad because hair salons have that perm solution going on. But every one of them, within about 3 hours, the ink had just, migrated so badly into the print. And I had printed, I think like 18 sets of them. It's like 360 of them. And I don't know what their cost was landed, but they were getting them done in Taiwan at the time. But I know it was expensive. And, we paid for them. To this day, I don't know what it cost. I just told my wife, I said, just pay, and, because I told them I could do them. So I replaced them, but I said, hey, we're not going to do these, because back then the inks just weren't hardy enough to do that. So I don't know how they ever, I actually think they had letters sewn onto them back then, but that was a nightmare. I mean, it had to be $6,000 or $7,000.
Oh, that's so rough.
Yeah, but it is what it is,
Hey, Dylan, can we do a listener question?
Yeah, you got one?
I do. I texted our good buddy Jonathan at Success.
Ooh, all right.
He actually
I love him, man.
me. Yeah, I know, right? We love him too. And he's so handsome.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
that's the only reason.
So his question is about shop cleanliness, and he says, "What if you were balls to the walls like everyone is working overtime, but for months?" Do you still just stop everything once a week and clean the press? Or do you wait for a slow time to clean, like once a week or once every 2 weeks? And I don't know. I think, so I have an answer, what we do.
Clean the press or just straight up press maintenance?
I think cleaning, not maintenance. So actually like cleaning the press or cleaning the shop even, or around the press and all that kind of stuff. And so because I know what he means, like some days, so we do a general quick clean at the end of every day, right? But it's only a 5 to 10 minute thing. But we don't actually get in and clean the press. So I would say my answer is this. You want to do it every couple of weeks. And I've tried before to schedule it. but it just never works because you just have no idea what your like workload is going to be. It's impossible to predict, right? And so it'll happen though all the time. You'll get in this situation where you'll be waiting for some reason. You'll be waiting on some shirts or waiting for some art or something that there's just a morning that you have an hour. And so that's what we do anyways. Sometimes it goes 3 weeks. Sometimes it goes a month, which is definitely too long, but you just find a morning and do a clean. Or the other answer is if you're going to have a visitor, then you clean real quick. So what do you guys answer?
Ken, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I don't know about you guys. It's like in the last maybe 2.5, 3 months, it's like the floodgates open. I mean, because they're allowing car shows and stuff. So we're busy right now, but yet we're shorthanded. I mean, I need to get a couple guys in here, but nobody wants to work. I mean, when I drive home tonight, I'll pass probably 20 restaurants that have, help wanted signs, and honestly, it's kind of that quandary. We're so busy. Do I want to stop and train somebody, whatever? So the answer to that is, normally about every 2 to 3 weeks, because we don't do the volume you guys do. So we're not, we don't get, as much lint around the shop and that kind of thing. But, just the general straightening up, because we keep a lot of mainly black shirts in stock for all the fulfillment. And when you're really busy, you're just peeling them out like Kleenex and stuff and, pre-treating them and getting this. And in those machines, you have to keep clean. I mean, we clean those every day really well. All of our heat presses, of course, the embroidery machines need to stay really clean, everything. But the screen printing side can suffer, especially right now. Like today I started, actually, it was bugging me. I started, straightening up because you look and there's, neck labels laying on the ground. And we just printed 900 aprons for a restaurant chain, the little waist aprons. And every one of them had those stupid silica packs in them, and I'm looking there, those are there. And we bring our dog to the shop sometimes and I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to have a, $1,000 vet bill because I didn't clean those up, so yeah, the good answer would be, more often than not, but right now it seems to be not.
My answer is that we generally keep everything really clean. I actually, and I've said this before, I actually hire my mom. She comes in on Saturdays and like sweeps, mops, takes all the towels from like bathrooms and stuff, takes them home, washes them, brings them back. Like pretty much just like you would hire a like cleaning service to come in, and like she like has one of those long dusters with like the really long like duster panel and like does the top of the dryer, top of the press, stuff like that, just to get like lint that's fallen on everything. Other than that, like I have on the schedule as kind of it's like a print job every other week, like press maintenance, like just like going around and greasing all the fittings and everything else. But right now it kind of sucks because like I just had Randy go through on the gauntlet and like he like power cleaned it. Like everything was spotless. Like he rubbed every surface, got everything super, like it looked like brand new. And then literally the next Monday was when my dad started tearing down our bathroom to do like the renovations for the thing. Everything in the shop right now is like covered in like a light layer of just like construction dust. So we've tried cleaning, but I'm waiting until like all the construction stuff is like fully done before I like go through the shop. So I think probably by next Monday, I'm going to just be like, all right, let's just take some time and go through and like clean everything. What's weird is like, I feel like in the summer here, we get like a lot of power outages. Like there's a lot of like thunderstorms and stuff. And I feel like when the power goes out, it's like, all right, it's the perfect time to like go around and clean everything. Just like leave the doors open for sunlight and then just like clean everything. So we just kind of take advantage whenever something's down or, we have free time. In that free time, instead of just like dicking around, it's like, all right, let's just clean squeegees, flood bars, presses.
That's a good point. I
dryers,
remember
everything like that.
That is another time. Like if you bust a screen or if a screen is wrong and you're waiting on a screen and you can't clean under the job, then it's time to clean for 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a perfect time.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that wild hair where like you're sitting at home and you start thinking, wow, if we move this press here and we put that there, we got to get a better flow. And then you go down there and you start rearranging and ripping everything apart. And you get like halfway through and you're freaking exhausted. And man, I should have had 3 more people here to help me. And this isn't working the way I thought it was going to work. And I've done that a couple times. I mean, I'm notorious for that, rearranging stuff. And it's like,
I haven't done this in a while, but I used to come in just because, like I said, this is my fun thing. But like, I would just be home and I could totally just be like, it's like 10 o'clock at night and I'm like in bed watching a movie or something. And I just get that feeling of like, I want to go build something or whatever. So I come to the shop at like 10:30 and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to build some tables for like more storage area, or I'm going to like paint this wall. And it'll be like no reason at all. I'll just be there till like 2 a.m. and then I get up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock to like go to work the next day. And it's like, I just did it because I was like, I had that feeling of like, I want to do something productive at work. And it's like, just turn the stereo up loud and just like do stuff for a couple hours and go home exhausted and do it all over again the next day.
That's what's cool about working for yourself is you can do those things and you can, it's yours and you take pride in it. And that's pretty cool. It's funny. We bought out a small shop recently, mainly just all her fixtures. She has some really trick fixtures and things that my wife wanted for the showroom and this bitchin' desk. And we originally went over there because she had a DTG machine that we wanted to add, but she sold that too. But she had all this killer slat wall, real nice slat wall. And it was like, I hadn't seen this kind of before. And that's what I was going to do today. I was going to start building a wall in the back where the DTG machines were. I thought, this area would be way better because we're going to expand that area. And then I'm like, I don't want to do that today. I just didn't feel like I lugged my chop saw from home and threw it in the back of our truck. And I was like, oh man, this thing's heavy. I don't want to go down and look at lumber prices today. It's like all that stuff is ridiculous. But I've had literally leaning up in a kind of an obscure area in our showroom, like 15 sheets of this slat wall for probably close to 6 months now.
Yeah.
How long it's been.
See, my thing is like over the whole like 10, 11 years we've been in this building, I've always had like big projects to do, like big renovations. So it's like, okay, this year we're going to do this. This year we're going to do this. Now I'm kind of like done. Like I don't have any big renovations. So I feel like earlier this year we finished the offices and stuff, and now we have no big projects. So now like my money and time that I would normally do into that stuff, I'm just trying to like upgrade things. So like in the shop, I'm like there's 2 ceiling fans that were kind of old. I'm like, oh, let's get 2 new ceiling fans. And then it's like, let's upgrade the lighting here. Or like the white walls are kind of dingy from being painted probably like 10 years ago. Let's like repaint those walls. And so I'm going through and doing things in there now that's just cosmetic. Like it's just to make it feel nicer and cleaner and like, and whatever. Like we have this table at the end of the dryer that was like an old table. I like kind of fixed up a little bit. It's this real long table. And like the top of it just looks like hell. Like it's like paint's chipped off. Like it's got inks that's dried on it, but it's like, it's not something that would come off on anything. It's just got like stuff all over it. And I kind of just want to like sand the whole thing, stain it, poly it. So it just looks like a dining room table, like really long table. It's just stuff like that I'm doing now. Cause I'm just like, I have the time and the energy and that's what I want to do. So
yeah, that stuff's fun to do. It's fun to get in and make something that's kind of trick. Like every shop we've ever had, I built out, and maybe I'm not the best at it, but I've learned a lot from my stepdad, and it was always kind of cool. Like in the early 90s, we were going to move up to Lake Tahoe, and we actually opened a deli up there, and we were going to, and the same thing, the housing crashed in the early 90s, couldn't get our house sold. And so after 3 years, we sold the deli, and Kim was going back and forth and working that thing. But my dad and I built that place out. And it was like, it was my stepdad. The most fun I ever had was that 3 weeks spending with him doing that stuff. It was just, it's kind of it's a creative outlet, but it's just something different. And every now and then it's just fun to smell some sawdust and do something. And then afterwards, you got something tangible you can look at and say, wow, yeah, I did that. That's pretty cool. It's more rewarding than putting together an IKEA table.
No, for sure.
Dylan, are you ready for questions for us?
Questions for us? Yes.
And shop hacks?
Okay, I got a couple questions for you guys. When do you or your counter help, or I don't know if you guys go to the counter, when do you say no to a customer? When do you become honest with them and say, you know what, this really isn't a good idea? Like, I guess the example would be you get the young kid, he comes in, and you don't want to, drown anybody's dreams, but maybe the artwork is really bad, or maybe you know a lot about the particular niche they're going in. Have you ever said, no, that's not going to work? Or have you just taken the job and known that they're not going to sell but 3 of their 200 shirts they bought or whatever?
I have a really hard time taking people's money. Like I feel like it's always tax season when you get the clothing brands coming out. Like people will be like, oh, I've got like, $3,000 to blow and I want to start this clothing line. And it's always horrible artwork. And they want to spend all of their money, like every cent. And a lot of times it's like, okay, I want to get 12 to 24 of like 15 designs or something. And yeah, I could do that. I could take their money and be like, okay, these are horrible artwork, whatever, do this whole thing. But I prefer to be like, sit them down and be like, hey, like I've done this a few times, like kind of know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Like pick your top like 3 designs. Okay, let's look at them, see if they're actually something that you think somebody who doesn't know you would buy. Like, are they going to buy the shirt because it says your last name across the chest? Or like, is there actual like cool artwork here or a brand or something? So we'll go through and like help them or get a designer to go through and like redo things. And then I'll be like, all right, well, let's spend like $1,500 of your $3,000 and like get these, see how they do. And then if you need more, let's do more. So I kind of like try to steer them in the direction of like, let's go safe with this, because if you are serious about starting a clothing line and starting like a bigger brand or whatever, that like, I would rather grow with you than see you just like eat it hard right now. So like a lot of times it's just like tough love stuff where I'm just like, hey, this is going to work out better for you. I promise you, if you do it this way, than if you just like go all in on something you've never done before. But yeah, we tell people no all the time, customers, as far as just like stuff that's like not doable or stuff that they just see on the internet and have no idea about screen printing. I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to work, or that's not going to turn out the way you want it to, but this is a better option. So a lot of it, I feel like, is just education. Like I don't just tell them no, like, hey, fuck off. It's kind of more like, no, but this is kind of what you're looking for. Even if we don't do it, if it's somebody that wants like belt printing or like an all over print, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what you're looking for. Go research it on the internet. Hopefully you find somebody that's really good at it. Or I know somebody who's really good at that. And I'm like, hey, go here. But yeah, we do it all the time.
I'd have the same answer. I mean, you don't want to take somebody's money, but I don't always know what, is their market or their niche. Maybe they know better than I do. And so, but what I recommend, I think in that case, is maybe we just do some art, mock it up on a shirt, and you can post it and see what happens. You don't even have to print a shirt. And so, yeah, I think, Dylan, that's a good answer. That's generally what we do. It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often to us that we get junk, is coming in. Every once in a while, we will get some stuff, like you said, all over printing, or just some crazy prints everywhere, and then we just can't do, and we'll say we can't do it. I don't know.
So that brings that quandary too, that it always happens. The guy comes in, or, oh, my daughter's an artist, I want to help her get a clothing line started. And then, like Dylan saying, the artwork is just absolute crap. Mm-hmm. And then you try to tell them, because, I don't know what you guys charge for artwork, how you work it. I mean, is it based on the minimum number of shirts they order, or you just have your artwork fee is your artwork fee? Then you suggest, well, maybe I should redraw it. What are you saying? This is bad? Or you redo it and it looks great and they're super grateful. And then you get that. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon. There's a screen printer. He's standing in the corner and he goes, wow, they don't even know that I printed all their shirts. He's at a party with 50 people. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, wow, we just knocked this artwork out of the park for you. And you didn't really even say thanks, but yet, you're going to take all the credit for it. But, that's a good thing if they're happy.
I don't know. I think there's lots of lessons though. I mean, you can't just knock it out of the park your first shirt sometimes. And so even getting a shirt printed that's mediocre, you can learn with that. You can learn that, oh, wait a second, this shirt didn't work or this shirt did. Like Dylan, you said you're going to do 3 shirts, maybe 2 of them crashed, but one of them was great, and so it's difficult. Brands are a certain kind of customer, and but we deal with a lot of really good ones that have their shit together, and it's not often that we have to deal with, like you said.
I feel like I always give my spiel on like, this is what I think, and this is, my expertise in this field of like, I think this is what you should do. But I always finish that statement off with, but it's your decision. It's your money. You could do what you want to do. Like, I'll tell them, be like, I could take your money. Like, I'll tell them to their face, like, I could take all your money. That's totally fine. Like, I will do that. But my conscience is telling me to be like, hey, maybe before I take your money, like, this is what I think. This is my 2 cents. But if you're gung-ho to be like, I'm going to spend it all and this is what I want to do, then, hey, we'll do it. I just wanted to make sure I gave you like the warning flag before we did that. So
yeah, I've definitely seen some designs come through here though, where I'm like, man, they're going to sell 0 of those. And then they reorder it 5 times, so I have sometimes I don't know.
Well,
but
go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, I don't always have it right, but I'm the same way as you, is that what we'll do, if you want to order these, we'll do them, but we could do, instead of doing 500, we can do 50 right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's a good move.
My biggest pet peeve with that is people who want to do something like a clothing line. Say, like I said, it's that guy who wants to do his last name across the chest or whatever because he thinks his brand is going to blow up because of his last name. Is when he's like, all right, I want to do 100 shirts, but I want to do 5 pink, 5 blue, 5 green. And it's just like, dude, first of all, no, we're not doing that at all. Like, that's where I'll stop you. I feel like I will do your horrible, shitty artwork, but I will not do 5 of each color. Like, I'm not going to do it.
It's funny because, like I said, I'm a lot older than you guys. So I kind of started out in the old hand-drawn artwork, cutting ruby litho, like I said, stat camera, that whole thing. And back in those days, people just didn't have the tools you'd set type with I can't remember what it was called now. There's like this little camera and you had 35 millimeter film that had fonts on it, and you take a picture of it and you'd set the type with that and develop it. It was crazy. And you'd paste it up and, you'd have rub on halftone patterns and stuff. But people came in back then with really, really bad artwork or really, really good artwork. But even if it was really, really good artwork, back then it was so hard to strip out the color or cut the ruby litho. I mean, I got to where I was really good at cutting ruby litho, which was no fun in San Diego because it's real dry and you have static and it'd be sticking all over you and everything. But now I do find that more people come in with really good artwork because there's so many good artists online. And you got, of course, a lot of people get stuff from Fiverr, which a lot of it's pretty darn nice. And then different clip art services, so I don't see as much bad artwork as I see what I sometimes think are bad ideas. But just like you said, Andy, who knows, sometimes the thing you think's not going to sell is the one that winds up being the one that knocks it out of the park, and they've reordered 5 or 6 times. And
well,
like,
that's
wow,
why I put at the end,
wrong.
like, you do what you want. A lot of times they could be like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I'm like, all right, whatever, let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah. It's
Next.
funny. What are your pet peeves? And it doesn't have to be about business. What sets you off? What's that thing that makes your fuse the shortest?
When people say on so many levels. Anytime anyone starts a sentence with me of something on so many levels, I want to disassociate myself with them forever.
We used to have a guy that came in our shop, and everything he said was always in, and so on and so forth. But even today, though, my thing that sets me off, and I'm way better than when I was young, but I hate going to the convenience store. I stopped and got a couple Mountain Dews on the way here. That's like the official drink of our shop, besides the adult beverages at home. But I get behind the guy or gal that buys a lottery ticket, and they scratch it off, and they sit there and they tell their damn lottery stories, while they're scratching off, while I'm waiting here, holding ice cold beverages, maybe a bag of ice, and my dog's in the car or whatever. And they sit there and then, oh, cool. And then they cash it back in. And the clerk never was, hey, why don't you step aside so that guy, Ben, let me take care of the guy behind you. God, that sets me off. It happens every day. You know?
Andy, I know you're bottling shit up. You're that guy who just sees shit and you're just going to explode. You got to have something good.
No, I'm pretty chill other than, I don't know, when I'm driving. The thing I thought of is that when I'm driving and somebody unnecessarily brakes, like way too much, it really irritates me because like if you're on the highway or something too, and you're driving and somebody brakes on the highway and all they had to do was just let their foot off the gas a little bit, but instead they're forcing me to brake, you know, or if they're slowing, I don't know. What I mean like by that is they brake and then they speed up again. You know what I mean? I just hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Just go. There's so many bad drivers in St. Louis. Maybe that's it. I don't know. You guys probably don't have to deal
Pretty
with
much
this,
anytime anybody hits the brake light at all in the passing lane, and I lose my mind.
Well, you know, it's funny. I moved from, I lived in San Diego for 25 years or plus. And everybody said, oh, the people out there drive like an idiot. No, we moved here and everybody and their brother thinks they're a NASCAR driver. They're always right on your tail. And I was driving home. We live out on this peninsula. And so there's only one way in and one way out. And my daughter and I are driving home twice before the same guy has cut me off. And the way I know it's the same guy is he's so stupid. His personalized license plate is actually his last or his whole name. I'll just say that it's Wade, and then his last name starts with a W, and then there's 3 more digits. It's like, okay, I know who you are. And he gets right up on your tail. And I'm driving, we have a Kia Soul that we bought for going to all these. My son was a real high level soccer player. So we were all over the Southwest going to these tournaments. We need to get something that was economical and whatnot. So we bought this thing. So it's not very quick. And this guy's right on my ass, you know, and he comes up and then passes me and then boom, cuts me right off. And this is the 3rd time he's done it. You know, he drives like a red Dodge Charger 4-door that he thinks is a real hot rod. So I find it the last time like I said, I'm not a big guy, but I'm just stupid, I guess. And, you know, my wife's like, no, they could have a gun. But I pull up next to this guy and I pull as close as I can. I start screaming at him. And I go, that car is like, you're acting like it's a weapon. I sound like, you know, my 90-year-old dad, you know, going off on him. Sorry, Dad's only 80. But I'm going off on this guy. And my daughter being the typical thing, she's over there recording it with her phone the whole time. The guy's like, I know what those things can do. I used to sell those. They're peppy. I go, this one's not peppy. And I don't drive like it's peppy, but they do around here, man. I on the way home, I guarantee I'll have at least 5 guys on my tail. I'll be going 70, but they'll be up right on my tail. And then they'll pass you and then they'll cut you off. And a lot of it's because they're coming up from Florida and whatnot.
That's one thing I never do is ever yell at anybody when I'm driving or giving it, not in St. Louis, because I think it's like the murder capital of the country.
That's the first time I've ever done it. You know, now my daughter has it for all posterity. That she shows all her friends. Look at my dad; he's a badass. And my wife goes, "Or a dumbass." You know. So
I've never gotten like an argument with somebody, like yelling at them through the window or anything. But one time I remember there was like 4-lane road, and you would come off the highway, and you would have to, if you wanted to go to like say Wegmans, you'd have to cross all 4 lanes to get to that like turn lane to go that way. And like, I remember I was with Chris and he was driving and he cut like all 4 lanes. And there was this guy in the sports car coming behind us that I don't think he saw. And like, it was obviously our fault. The guy was like pissed off or whatever. Well, we got down to the intersection and the guy like stops his car, puts it in park, gets out, gets like right up to where he could see like in the truck. And he saw me and Chris just like sitting in the pickup truck. And he was just like, you could tell he just was like, oh, fuck, I made a wrong idea. And like turned around and got back in his car. Like, we're not going to fight him by any means. We're just like big guys. So he was just like, oh, fuck, I made a mistake. Like, got back in his car. But that was pretty much the gist of my only like road ragey situation.
Yeah, that would be the last one for me. Because I actually wound up calling the cops. And it turns out like a dozen people had called in and complained about this guy. You know, it's like, and his son goes to my daughter's school, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, your dad's a nutcase." Not me, her dad, or the kid's dad. You know, because he cuts people off. Even on the way to the high school in the morning, if you're dropping your kids off, Gianna drives now, but you can drive over there, and the guy's like, they're crazy. That drives me nuts, though.
What else you got?
When do you? We're saying no about artwork, but when have you said no to a customer based on their demands? I mean, you ever had somebody come in there to they act like they're act like they're taking over the place, and they're going to tell you what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. I mean, I've never had that. But a buddy of mine had this happen on Thursday, and he actually had the cops come to a shop. He's out in El Cajon, California, and we talk all the time on the phone. And he had some lady that absolutely went off on him, and he was trying to, make her happy, but yet she had all these crazy demands, without going into detail. But you're anybody that you finally said, you're just going to have to go, because that's what he told her, and then she called the cops.
Yeah, we had one, I want to say like 6 years ago. There was this clothing line where we did a ton of stuff for them, but the guy was in Australia. So we would print all the stuff here and we would ship it to Australia. And he would call us all the time with these like demands of like, I need these to ship on like next Monday or whatever. And he would like go ahead and send the payment so we couldn't say no. You know what I mean? He would be like, we didn't even make an invoice yet. He just knew like from working together, like, okay, here's what it's going to be. And he would just send the money and he'd be like, it has to be here, blah, 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 like setting demands on stuff. And he got to the point where he was like literally on certain jobs, like color wise or us saying, hey, we're really busy, we can't do this right now. He would call us and like scream at us on the phone. And he'd be like, oh, whatever. But like I said, we were still kind of like a younger company and we were trying to like get as many orders as we could and do all this other stuff. It just got to the point where we were like, nah, dude, that's like, I was on vacation. I was actually I was on the Outer Banks, and like, it was like one of my first like vacations from like work, but I took my laptop and I was on my laptop at the beach like the whole time I was there. And I remember Chris calling me and be like, dude, this guy's being a huge asshole. And I was like, just fire him. Just like fire him as a customer. And it's funny, like we just called him and he was like pissed about something. We were like, we just want to let you know, like, you can take your business elsewhere. Like, we don't want to work with you anymore. It's getting hostile and like you just have a temper every time we deal with you on something. And he immediately changed his attitude. He was like, no, like, I love working with you guys, and like, I guess I could have a little more time on this and all. So we're like, nope, it's way too far gone for that. Like, we're not working with you anymore. And then I remember he flipped a switch again and got all pissed off, and it was just like, nope, we're done. Like, dude, it's just t-shirts. Like, it's not worth getting angry over. Like, it's gonna be okay. But come to find out, the guy his clothing line was like a bodybuilder clothing line. So like, and he was like a juiced up dude. So I think it was just like he had roid rage like all the time.
What is your favorite part about being in this business or in business in general? But I'll answer my question by saying my favorite thing is just meeting all these creative people and learning about other people's businesses. Because that's what we always try to do. We try to make the customer the star when they're here and ask them a lot of questions about their businesses. And so many people do so many cool and crazy things for a living. And it seems like our businesses are the kinds of, we get to deal with all those people because they all want to, whether it's stickers or shirts or something. But what's you guys' favorite thing about, being in business, being in the screen printing business, especially?
My favorite thing would be that it's seems like it's the perfect balance between being able to be creative and also being able to be business, because I don't know, I like running a business. I always knew I wanted to do that when I was younger. I didn't know what it was going to be. And then I stumbled upon screen printing, and it just kind of was the perfect blend, because we have to be business people, but sometimes I don't want to be that, sometimes I want to just go back and print some shirts and be creative. And so when that gets old, then I'm in here doing businessy stuff. So I don't know. It's like the perfect blend for me. Screen printing is.
That's true.
I feel like for me, it's like, because I came kind of from the band world, it's basically the same thing to me. Like, I get to create cool stuff, and I also get to talk, like, not necessarily in travel, but talk to new people like every day that are kind of like-minded like I am. Kind of like when you go to different shows and you're meeting new bands and you're talking out back and you're just bullshitting about stuff. And then it's like this, like we could just talk about shirts the entire episode, but we talked about like so much more stuff. And to me, that's just so rewarding and so like fulfilling. And I feel like it's like that with anything. Like, you know, some artist might come to us and tell us like his whole story about like why he wants to create this thing. And this is what the art means and all that stuff. And we get to like create his art in like a physical form. And then he gets it, and then other people get to enjoy it. And then we get to do that all over again with like tons of different people. Plus, like the other side of it is like I said, back to the band world, is that like being social on like social media and like the podcast and all other stuff is just talking to other like-minded printers that feel the same as you. Again, it just feels like bands again, but you're the band yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're like kind of like a solo artist, and you get to go talk to all these other people that do the same thing and swap stories
And isn't it
like
cool? Isn't it cool that you can really never master it too? You know, because
nobody can, and nobody's
so,
like here. You know what I mean? You can't ever be like, I need to get to that gold level. It's like everybody's always learning at the same time. So
Dylan, on so many levels, I'm really close to mastering it though, on so many levels. But
okay.
But seriously, you never can. It's so fucking hard. Like, just when I think I've got it pretty figured out, not just with the printing, but with just running this place, you know, there's always something new and
always,
or something that I didn't expect. And so I can never master it. And so I guess I never get bored, you know, I keep coming back.
I mean, we can get really, really good at it, but there's so many variables, and there's always new technologies, and there's always new inks and new everything coming out, that there's just so many different things that kind of are always getting thrown at you that you're always just going to have to be like education all the time. Like you can't just stop at some point. You can't be like, well, I've been in business for 15 years and I did education for the first 8, so I'm good. It's like, no, you're just like, every time you get free time, you can like learn a new skill or learn something about
Ken, like just like you said a minute ago, you're on YouTube researching DTF, you know, because and who would have thought that, you know, a few years ago?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so there's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always something new and to learn, but there's always, every day is different too. It's always a different project, different. I mean, to this day, you know, one of my favorite things is when the line art comes down, you know, the black line art comes down on top of the design. Like, wow, that's magic. Right. You know, I still to this, I mean, I remember years ago when I was printing for that dirt bike company, because they were the first customer that really gave me just kick-ass artwork. I mean, the guys that were there, and one guy's gone on to become a pretty damn famous sculptor and you know, charging 50, 60 grand for a sculpture. I mean, super talented and creative guys, man. And it was always just so fun to see that come to life and say, wow, I figured out how to do that, you know, but then tomorrow some other project will come in and it'll be cool. And then by the same token, and you know, you do something for a kindergarten class where some little kid did the design and you print it on the shirt and they're so happy, you know, and they send you a little picture and all the little kids sign it. Man, that's pretty cool. You know, like I said, you know, my grandfather, you know, he retired not very happy because nobody was ever happy to see him, you know, and I think most people that walk through our door are pretty enthusiastic, you know, and pretty excited. That's, I love that still, you know.
Yeah. I love it when somebody is at the front counter and they open up their box and then they actually put the shirt on.
Yeah.
You know, they're so excited. They're like, wait a minute. And they put it on right there.
But every now and then they put on like, oh, wait a minute. These are supposed to be printed on the back. You know, so that happens. And then it's like, oh, muscles tighten up and you make it right. You know, it happens every now and then. It is what it is. But, you know, that's cool too. Sometimes the reward of making something right is even better. You want to build an even better relationship if they find out you stepped up or whatever.
Or you never hear from them ever again.
That can happen. that can happen, you know.
All right, Ken, shop hacks.
Well, I sent you one a few weeks ago, and it's like the only one that I haven't heard. I mean, I've been using the sign masking tape probably for almost 30 years. When we first got our roll and cutter, we started using that on our platens. But what we do with I always see guys carting on the adhesive onto the platens, and it's messy and you don't get an even coat. What we do is we just take we buy these little 99-cent condiment things at the dollar store or off a Uline sells them, and you can get them on Amazon. And we put our adhesive in there, and then we squirt a little bit on the platen, and then we take a 4-inch foam roller and just roll it on. It gets perfectly smooth. You can go to the edge. You never get any on the side of the platens. You know, nothing ever drips off, and it works out really good. I mean, and God, the foam rollers last forever if you do it right, but and it economizes, you're not wasting adhesive, and it's a lot neater, and you don't run the risk of a guy getting it on his hands or going through a bunch of nitrile gloves. It's really clean and neat, and it works very, very well. That's about the only one. I don't know if it's been on here before, but that one I love.
Now, are you using? That's a good one. And are you using water base or a different kind of? Okay.
Yeah.
Now with the foam roller, are you just rinsing it out with water when you're done? So
it's ironic. It stays really good. And then you reactivate. Every now and then it's going to pick up if it starts picking up lint, it really doesn't matter because it's rolling. So it gets covered with the adhesive. I basically take my hand on it every now and then and say, okay, yeah, this one's a little bit worn out. But it's like I said, it's just so clean and neat, because instead of carding it, and then, like I said, when it starts, how it is when it gets on the side of the platens, even on the automatic, it grabs, and you, especially on the first couple of shirts, it seems like it gives you a lot of control as to how much you want to put down. And if you just want to do a little chest, you're going to be doing 500 chest logos, you just do a little bit in a nice little area, and it's nice and neat. And you get it just really even coverage. It's like painting a wall. You get really good coverage that way. I mean, think about if you put paint and just spread it on your counter, it's going to be kind of sloppy. But you take that roller, you can even it all out. It works good.
Right. Makes sense. And your one about the tape, that was the one where you order pallet tape from a sign shop?
Yeah, I saw somebody else mention that maybe 10 episodes ago. But yeah, we just use your typical masking that you do for like a pre-spaced decal that you cut on a vinyl cutter. And you buy either 16
but it's
inch
cheaper
or
by the roll than it is.
If you buy it as pallet tape, it's way more expensive. If you buy it as sign masking, vinyl masking tape, it's way cheaper. It's way cheaper. Because they get you. I mean, I haven't even compared now to see. But I remember 10 years ago they were quite a bit different in price. And they may have grown together now, but it's basically the same stuff. And it'll unless you're doing tons of fleece, it'll last quite a while. Mm-hmm. It takes the heat from the flash cure. And what's kind of nice too is, especially on the manual press, if you're doing it and you want to, lay out a little grid on them or something, you can write on it. You don't have to worry about, because you can't take an ink pen and write on a palette and have it look good. Obviously a Sharpie, but then you got a thick line on we use the palette tape, which of course, you can use the ballpoint pen that works really good, but it's just way cheaper to do,
Right. All right. You ready for quick takes?
I am ready.
I got a question before we get into quick takes. What are your top 2 favorite movies now that I know you were into the movie thing?
Okay. Well, the first one, and it's not really a movie. It's the Godfather epic. Coppola, when we had our video store, Coppola did a special edition set where he re-edited it, and it goes from 1902 to 1959 in chronological order. There's no flashbacks like there are between episodes 1 and 2. It's just one seamless story being told. And I love that. It's so well done. It's great filmmaking. And then after that, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Goodfellas, Something About Mary.
Whoa! You will go from Goodfellas
because you got to have a good laugh every now and then. You got to have a good laugh every now and then.
I get it.
And even Used Cars. That's a movie. If I see it on cable, I'll sit and watch 10 minutes of it just because, or Vacation. Because you got to have a good laugh. But Goodfellas is tremendous. The Usual Suspects. I don't know if you ever watched that. That's a fantastic movie. Just all over the map on those. When you own a video store, you learn that you kind of have to like a little bit of everything because what you like, not everybody's going to like. So you start watching everything.
Do you have like a catalog or a big movie collection at home?
Used to have tons, and tons of POP, point of purchase materials. I mean, we had thousands of posters and cardboard standees and all the freebie stuff they gave out. But we had it all stored in a sea container on our property in Ramona. And then when the fires came, one little hole, wildfires, and I think it was 2008, one little hole rusted through and it ruined everything. I mean, all kinds of stuff we had stored in there. So we lost a lot of that, but we finally, now with Netflix and everything, we don't have as many as we used to. We still keep a few that I like to watch, that you can't find, everywhere. Like Used Cars, for example. I keep referring to that, but it's just a funny movie. And actually, Spielberg was one that produced it. which a lot of people don't know, but it was just and Zemeckis and Bob Gale wrote it, the ones that wrote Back to the Future, you know. But I mean, it was great. I mean, we used to be able to go to movies and write off going to movies because it was research. And my wife and I, we probably went to movies 4 nights a week back then. You know, it was fun. Once we had the video store.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Used Cars when I get home.
It's good. And you know, the funny thing is, I got this stupid memory, and I can remember every inventory number from back then. You know, every movie from 1985 to 1991 is stuck in my head that if we had it. You know, so somebody says a movie that we had, it's like, oh, C83, you know, whatever. It's funny though. I was thinking about this earlier today because I was moving some screens because I was going to, you know, build that wall back there, and then I decided not to. There's a couple sounds that the opening of a video case, you know, of an Amaray case at the video, that's a distinct sound. Like if I got kidnapped, okay, I'm somewhere where they had a video, you know, machine or whatever. And the clinking of aluminum screens together, that's a distinct sound, a certain tone. You know, if I say, okay, they kidnapped me and they took me to a shop because, you know, they always say the person that's going to survive a disaster is the person that's thinking ahead of things like that. Okay, if these guys kidnapped me, it's like, I'm the guy on the airplane, like, okay, who do I have to climb over to get out of this damn thing? You know, and that's the way I am like kidnapping. Like when I was a kid, quicksand worried the shit out of me. You know, it's like, man, quicksand, man, that's bad stuff. I don't think we have quicksand in North America, but when I was a kid, I think I was traumatized by quicksand. You know?
Yeah, and quicksand is named wrong. It should be slow sand.
That's true. That's true. There's a funny Far Side cartoon I saw where it's like 2 vines in the jungle. And there's 2 pith helmets on top of the quicksand. And then there's a parrot sitting there. Harry, grab my hand. Harry, grab my hand. It's like the last thing I heard was the parrot, you know.
Yeah, but it wouldn't keep people away from it if it was called slow sand. If you make it quicksand, then people aren't going to go near it.
Well, I know Tarzan, you know, he helped quite a few people out of quicksand. And then I think in Wild Wild West, they used to pull them out with their horses. I don't know, on the Wild Wild West show.
Okay, Andy, you going first or am I?
You go ahead.
Okay. What's one thing you need every morning?
A Mountain Dew. That's my coffee.
First thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning. And I can I hardly ever drink soda anymore. I've got one here now, but I can drink one 5 minutes before bed and go right to sleep. It pisses my wife off. You know, I'm not affected by it. It's like, you know, that's, you know, that and the good morning piss, you know,
right,
we all need that. But, you know.
Do you have Quick Trips where you are?
We do.
Yeah, like there's a guy here that keeps the Quick Trip down the street in business. Like he just buys everything you shouldn't, you know, like Mountain Dew, the hot dogs off the thing that they make, you know.
Dude, those are the
best. I'm not sure if it's a hot dog or a beef stick. No. It's been on the roller all day long. It's all shrinked up.
I love Nathan's hot dogs, like the all beef hot dog. And our gas station in town always used to have just like shit hot dogs. Like I rarely ever went in there and got a hot dog, but they had a sign one day that said like now using Nathan's hot dogs or whatever. And I was like, hell yeah. So like they were like $2 for $1 or whatever. I would definitely go in there and buy, like, I would come here late at night and there's like a 24-hour gas station. I would come here at like 10:30 to do work at the shop and I would go buy like 4 hot dogs.
Yeah. I'm that way. I got a Blackstone griddle. Have you ever cooked on one of those? I mean, it's the greatest thing for making burgers and stuff, but I keep a couple sleeves of Nathan's hot dogs in the crisper just so I can throw 2 on and eat them while I'm cooking. You know, that's not even the meal. We could be making steaks, but right. I'm munching on those while I'm cooking. Dogs. You know, yeah. Maybe that's why I gained weight. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense if you're just munching on hot dogs. Like you have to make hot dogs to munch while you're cooking other food. Then you know, or it could be the Mountain Dew at 6:30 in the morning.
It could be, but you know, I was always convinced it kept my metabolism going. You know, you hit a certain age and all of a sudden it stops and you start. You know, they pull the ripcord and you start blowing up. You know, but that's what we're trying to find now. A little balance, get a little more exercise and whatnot.
The real question is, do you like boiled hot dogs?
No. And I grew up on boiled hot dogs. You know, it's funny. I love my mom and rest her soul, but man, what was she thinking with the boiled hot dogs? I get them, I slice them, put them on the griddle, and I put a lot of little slices on. They get that nice crispy edge. Oh man, boiled hot dogs.
Was that a thing that like people did a long time ago? It was just like they thought it was better to boil a hot dog than to cook it in like a pan or something?
Oh. See,
because like it was the same for me. Like my I feel like my parents at a certain point, like my dad definitely boiled hot dogs.
Yeah.
And like I was like, why are you boiling a hot dog?
Like They're nasty.
But it's the same thing. Like grandparents always, like my grandma always used to butter bread before she made us sandwiches. I'd go to her house and she's like, "You want a sandwich?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll have a turkey sandwich." And it'd be like fucking like quarter inch of butter on both pieces of bread before. It's like, I didn't ask for a fucking butter turkey sandwich. I asked for a turkey sandwich. I just feel like it's certain generations are just like, oh yeah, we butter everything, or like we boil hot dogs.
My mom was so young when she had me. I was pretty much raised by kids. My mom had me when she was 18 and my dad was 20. So I don't know if they didn't have home ec or whatever, but like up until I was like 18, once I left the house, she learned how to cook, it seemed like. But I was like on a 7-meal rotation. Every 7 days we had the same stuff. And I remember Sunday nights, it was like those Mrs. Paul's fish sticks, the dry, frozen, nasty stuff. And then, okay, we're going to have boiled hot dogs tonight,
My mom is the exact same way. Literally every day of the week, I knew what I was having for dinner. Like Monday was meatloaf. Tuesday was this, like pork chops and mac and cheese. And like the next night was like meatloaf. Like it was just like every night of the week was the same, like goulash tonight or like chicken.
Goulash. Oh my God, I forgot about goulash.
Every night. That's the thing is like I haven't had goulash since I like moved out, and I moved out when I was like 17. Every once in a while I get like a hankering for it, and I call my mom. I'm like, will you just make me like a batch of goulash? She brings me this like huge tub that's made for like 15 people, and I just like eat it. I don't know.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But what's funny? My mom moved out from California about 8 or 9 years ago. And so I drove back to get her. I flew out to get her, and then I was going to drive her back. And I had one day in California, and San Diego's got the best food, the best street tacos, the best burritos. In-N-Out Burger, like I said, was 75 feet from our door at our old shop in El Cajon. I mean, just awesome food. And so I had it planned all day long. Every 2 hours I was going to eat. I mean, I was just going to get all the things I missed, Rubio's fish tacos. And my mom saw, well, what time are you going to be here? Your Aunt Alice is making a special meal for you. And I'm like, oh God, okay, well, I'll be there later. And like my phone was blowing up. She's calling me like every hour. I'm like, God, okay. And I finally said, okay, I give up. I come home. So I came up there. And apparently when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I really liked Sloppy Joe's and Jell-O cake. I don't know if you ever had Jell-O cake. That's a real Midwestern thing. But so I gave up all my great food to have some Sloppy Joe's and Jell-O cake,
We do a lot of like community like shop meals here. Like we'll get food for like everybody at the shop, or we'll do grilling Wednesdays, or I take them out for steaks on Thursdays. But the other last Wednesday it was like shitty out. We knew it was going to storm. We weren't going to be able to grill. And Sarah was like, "Oh, we should like have a meal regardless." And I was like, "All right, let's have something." And that's what she made was Sloppy Joe's, and we had Sloppy Joe's and tater tots. Like the whole shop had just a big pot of Sloppy Joe's.
But they're good when you want them. But when you're substituting a carne asada burrito for
with
Sloppy Joe's with my aunt's yappy chihuahua nipping at my ankles the whole time, I was like, wow, that was right. a funny trip anyway. But that's another story.
All right,
Andy.
favorite car, make, model, and year.
Oh man, that's tough. I have had literally my daughter asked me to say hundreds, but I had a beautiful '63 Buick Riviera that was all lowered, custom, and the Riviera was so far ahead of its time design-wise. Bill Mitchell, designer for GMC, that was like his pet project. And I had one, and my late buddy Jerry, who actually moved out here when we did, he was one of the group of people that moved it. He painted it. It was a two-tone silver and blue, and it was on airbags, and it was low, and it was fast, and it was mean. I love that car, but I can't narrow it down to any one. But I will say, I know you and I had the same car. I had a 77 Camaro.
No way.
Yeah, a 77 Camaro with the shitty 305. It was Firethorn red. It was beautiful, though. I had it when I was only 2 years old because I'm old. And it was a bitching car. I mean, it was a cool car for a guy in high school. Like I said, I was working at the car wash. I wasn't a sales manager then, but my dad co-signed on a loan, and I loved that car because it was really pretty. I kept it nice. I had Keystone Classic wheels on it. But since that, I mean, I've always had the car bug, and I probably wasted tons of money. I've made lots of money on them, but if I had to go buy one car right now, it'd be that Riviera. And right after I got it, Kim goes to me, "Why'd you get rid of that one? I really like that one." Because like I said, I've had tons of them. I used to flip old cars and all that.
What do you think of Dodge doing the Hellcats now?
Well, I think it's cool. It's no different than when I was a little kid and they were doing the 440 six packs. And matter of fact, I had a chance when I was 18. There was a car lot in Fort Wayne that had a 72 Dodge Challenger with a black vinyl top and one with a convertible top. And my dad, I told my dad, I got to get this. These things are going to go up in value. Cars aren't going to go up in value. I mean, good Lord, they're worth a freaking fortune now. I don't think these are going to go up in value. And I think half the guys that buy them don't know how to drive them. I see that here. I mean, we live in a pretty nice area. I mean, I always tell my kids we're the poorest people in the richest neighborhood. I mean, there's some people around me. I don't know where they get their money, but I literally can see an Aston Martin, a Bugatti, a McLaren, all kinds of vets and just all kinds of trick cars going by. And then they drive by, you can tell they just don't even know how to drive them, but they've got the money to buy them, but
always hitting their brakes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, the funny thing is like I have my, I have my like normal daily driver of my like Toyota Highlander, and my lease is almost up, and I'm like, I'm gonna get something new. And I'm always talking about like, man, I should really get a Hellcat because I really just want to fucking burn the tires off of whatever I get. And then I saw that they came out with a new Hellcat minivan, and I was like, I have to get the fucking Hellcat minivan. Because the problem is I need a vehicle that's big enough, because when we do we go anywhere with the shop, I want to be able to fit them all in my car. Like if we do steak night on Thursdays and stuff, I want to be able to have everyone fit in there. So I was like, dude, I should definitely just get the Hellcat minivan.
I just saw a picture of that today, a blue one. It was on the internet. I went, wow, that's trick. I mean, my kids would like freak out. You can't buy, but I think it'd be so cool because it's cool to have a sleeper car. Ivan Stewart, that off-road guy I was talking about, when I used to work at 7-Eleven, he used to come in every morning real early and hang out for like an hour or two. You can see he raced off-road vehicles. So he had all the spare time. He'd hang out. We just shoot the shit while I was making Slurpees for people, And he had a 59 Volkswagen bus with a 327 Chevy engine in it. And there was this road called the Alpine Grade, which left El Cajon and went up the hill. And so he would purposely pull in front of people, and they get all pissed off, thinking, it's a slow old Volkswagen bus. And then he would just romp on it and just take off. It's cool to have a sleeper, and those vans will be sleepers for a while until people know. But it's kind of a bummer that, horsepower now is, crazy horsepower. I bought a new Corvette years ago when the kids were little, and I don't know why I bought it. It was fun. It was beautiful. It had the heads-up display. It was quick. It handled great. But after 9 months, I couldn't take. I felt like such a douche driving it, and I traded it in on a pickup truck because everybody drives a Corvette, and of course they do it in Jeeps now. They all wave at each other. And one guy, I saw a guy literally. We were up in LA, and we were actually going up to Long Beach to the show, and guy goes, "Hey man, I waved at you at the light, but do you not know about the Corvette wave?" And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm done. I got to get rid of this thing. I was only like three gold chains away from being that guy.
All right. Best recent read, listen, or watch.
Oh man, one book I read it again recently. I love it. Is The Purple Cow. Have you read that? It's about standing out. It's about the guy starts the book by saying, you're driving through the countryside, and the kids look out the window and they see, oh wow, a cow. Oh wow, a cow. But after a few minutes, they're like, cow. But if you're a purple cow, if you saw a purple cow, that'd be something they'd remember. And it's about, branding yourself and standing out and being the purple cow. And then the other book recently was Citizen Hearst, about William Randolph Hearst. And it was fascinating because if you've ever been to California, next time you go out to the show, you should take an extra day or two and go up to San Simeon. It's on the California coast. That was William Randolph Hearst Castle. And it's so funny because it was 100 years ago when he was this big oligarch, but he controlled all the media. He owned the radio stations. He made movies. He owned newspapers and magazines. You still, when you see credits roll, you say a Hearst Corporation thing. And it's kind of emulating what you see now with a lot of the social media controlling things, And so it's funny that 100 years ago, so nothing's changed, but it's a fascinating story about how he took what wealth his father had and built it into something great. It's a great book. It's just really fascinating. Of course, the movie Citizen Kane was based loosely on him and a few other, industrial giants,
Right.
So it's a really good book. But I really love The Purple Cow.
Andy?
So what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Don't spend so much money on cars unless it's a classic car. Honestly, it's just the most basic thing. And my son Josh talks about it all the time. Because you try to as you get older and you have kids, the first thing, you just want to give them good advice. I wish I'd have saved more. I spent a lot of money because I made money at an early age, and I spent a lot of money on frivolous stuff, stuff, not experiences. I wish I spent more money on experiences and less on stuff, because that stuff goes down in value. It collects dust. I mean, we're getting ready to sell our house, and it's overwhelming how much stuff we have that I don't really want, So I think that would be it. Experience more, spend, save, and all that stuff.
Or if you are going to spend it on experiences and memories.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've not been able to do enough of that. For the last 10 years, our experience has been travel soccer. I mean, every weekend we were going, and that was awesome. I miss it tremendously when Josh quit playing. But now I'm ready for us as a family to go do some fun stuff and show them all the cool things that Kim and I got to see, for a while before we got so inundated with business, but, you realize the world, our country alone is an amazing place. There's a lot of things to see. I mean, just going to Yosemite and Lake Tahoe alone will give you memories to last a lifetime, but there's so much more out there that I want to see,
That's good. What would you be doing if you weren't printing shirts?
I would have liked to have got into like sports writing or writing. I love sports, especially when I was a big baseball nut. And I used to write these long diatribes. I used to, write to the editor of the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette all the time when I was a kid. And I love sports, and I've got a pretty good memory for statistics and stuff. And I have a real grasp of it. I think I'd have been a sports writer or some kind of writer, and I maybe got into some kind of advertising. When you're a screen printer, it seems like you have real eclectic taste. I don't know if I could narrow it down to one thing. I mean, what about you guys? And I can't think of one thing. I mean, I like architecture. I love cars. I like all that stuff.
Mm. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you mean what you're asking? We've answered that before, right? What did I even say? I don't even remember.
See, that tells you right now that you're happy with what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So what's for dinner tonight?
Probably going to make some fajitas on the Blackstone. I'm going to get some fresh tortillas there's a little Mexican market on the way home. And, my neighbors think I'm crazy because we're always out there at like 9:00 at night grilling. We're kind of night owls in our family. So I'll be up there at 9:00 clanging around, cooking and making stuff,
Now, real quick, are you strictly using Blackstone, or do you have a Blackstone and a grill?
And a smoker. Yeah, and I want to get a pizza oven next. I think we make pizza.
So you're like what I'm trying to do, and I want to get like one of each. So like certain meals are on certain things.
Exactly. I mean, the Blackstone. I mean, you can make certain things freaking killer. I mean, the burgers taste like any diner burger you've ever had. You get that nice caramelization, and you don't waste any food. Nothing falls between the grates.
Like a smash burger.
Yeah, a smash burger, but like nothing, and the juices stay locked in, as opposed to you're not supposed to press a burger on the grill. But like the vegetables, like grilled onions and stuff, you don't lose any of them in the grates. But yeah, I mean, the other day I cooked stuff on my grill. I hadn't done that for a while, and I was like, oh man, I forgot how good stuff can taste doing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did smoke some stuff. So it's just fun to be out there. I think that's kind of almost turning into our hobby, is making really killer meals and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Is the Blackstone something you put in your grill, or is it all
it's its own thing?
Separate?
It's just like a flat top cook.
Yeah. I mean, I for about a year or two, I had a big stainless steel flat top that I put up directly on my grill, but you can only get like 5 or 6 burgers. I mean, I've got this 36-inch one. I mean, you can make, a dozen burgers and toast the buns at the same time and have grill your vegetables. And it's really trick. I mean, matter of fact, my niece does artwork for us and works remotely. And we bought her one just because she loves to cook, and she's a freaking master cook anyway. But we sent her one, just because it's so cool. And like, I'm probably going to send my dad one because it's just the coolest thing to cook on. I mean, it's fast too.
I don't have one yet, and I was thinking about getting one, but don't you have to like really clean them and keep them clean and oiled, kind of like a cast iron?
That's the thing. It's crazy is how fast it cleans up. I mean, when you first get it, you have to season it. And they sell stuff to season it. I mean, you don't want to use like bacon grease or something because it's too salty. It's corrosive. But once you cook on it a few times, it gets like this jet black thing. I mean, as soon as I'm done cooking, I scrape all the stuff off. I pour a glass of water on there and kind of steam it off, scrape it off real quick, and then just take paper towels and wipe it down and put maybe a spoonful of oil and spread it around, with a paper towel.
Right. So it's kind of like cast iron skillet.
Yeah, exactly like a cast iron skillet. But I mean, you can make almost anything on it. There's a million guys on YouTube that make stuff, on cast iron grill or griddles or something similar to it.
Right.
But it's quick and it's easy. My wife loves it. I mean, we sit there cooking side by side on it, and you can make just about anything on it.
Nice.
Well, yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
You go ahead.
Can he cook us a sweet meal?
Yeah. I'm going to have to try one of those burgers on there.
Oh, man,
but for real, it was good to finally talk to you because we've messaged back and forth a ton of different times and never even spoke face to face or on the phone or anything like that. So
I
thanks for coming
it.
on and good talking to you, man. Stay away from those rattlesnakes.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's my main phobia. But yeah, pleasure, you guys. I appreciate what you guys do. I mean, I think we all out there look forward to this. I mean, every Monday at my shop, man, it pops on YouTube, And then, like I said, Jake and Josh are here, especially Jake, my son. He walks back. He's, "Oh, you're watching those guys again. What are they talking about? Who are they talking to?" So it's really cool. You guys are doing a great job.
So you're a watcher, not a listener.
Yeah, that's my parents probably would have said.
Right. All right, man. Well,
Close
we
your
appreciate
blinds.
it.
Yeah. All right, man. You guys have a good one.
We'll see you later. Have a good night.
Talk to you. See you.
You too.